Chapter 1144. Isn't this my little friend Xiaofan? Why are you hiding here? This old man wanted to have a drink or two with you. An old man's voice came from not far away. Xiaofan turned his head and saw Jia Jinyan holding a wine glass in his hand and walking toward him with a smile. Behind him were two young men. "Hello, old man." Xiaofan greeted him politely and clinked glasses with Jia Jinyan. When he drained his glass, he felt that something was wrong. Putting down the glass, Xiaofan looked behind Jia Jinyan and saw the two young men. One of the young men was Tang Qianling. When Xiaofan took a closer look, he found that this guy was faintly emitting a black mist that shrouded his whole body. It looked a little strange and gloomy. That was why Xiaofan felt that something was wrong. However, this black fog was extremely thin and faint. The surrounding people were very calm, and no one noticed it. Only Xiaofan, who had an outstanding spiritual sense, noticed it at a glance. As for the other young man, he looked more normal. His looks were not bad, and he was dressed like a dog. He smiled at Xiaofan, looking more amiable. However, there was not a hint of a smile in his eyes, they were extremely cold. "Come, Xiaofan, my little friend, let me introduce you to these two young up-and-coming talents." Jia Jinyan smiled and turned around to let the two people behind him stand in front of Xiaofan. Xiaofan raised his eyebrows. Was Jia Jinyan trying to build a network for him? This is Tang Qianling. He is the heir of the Tang family in the inner martial arts world. He is also the most outstanding one among the third generation of the Tang family. Jia Jinyan introduced Tang Qianling to Xiaofan. Xiaofan replied with an "oh" and looked at Tang Qianling with a faint smile. He was mainly studying the black mist emitted from his body. Tang Qianling's expression was a little distorted, but he still pretended to be calm and nodded. Jia Jinyan didn't pay much attention to it. After introducing Tang Qianling, he pointed to another young man and said, "This is Yu Dongsheng, my little friend. He is the heir of the Yu family. Not only is he powerful, he also has a strong business mind. He can manage the Yu family well at such a young age. He is indeed a young talent." Yu Dongsheng didn't know much about Xiaofan. After hearing Jia Jinyan praise him so much, he was very pleased and didn't bother to greet him. He just pulled the corner of his mouth and pretended that he had just smiled. "Hee, the three of you are all young people. There must be more topics to talk about when you are together. I'm just being a middleman. I'm just being a middleman. I hope you won't blame me for being too presumptuous." After Jia Jinyan finished his introduction, none of the three people said anything. Only then did he feel that something was wrong. Fortunately, as the clan leader, he was shrewd with age. He immediately added a sentence to smooth things over. Although the three big families of the inner martial arts world seemed to be harmonious on the surface, the competition was very fierce in the dark. This time, Jia Jinyan introduced Tang Qianling and Yu Dongsheng to Xiaofan in order to help Xiaofan expand his network. He hoped that Xiaofan would remember this favor. Jia Jinyan valued Xiaofan's unpredictable ability very much. He hoped that Xiaofan could give Jia Muzhen more help. That was why he made such a move. It was also for the sake of planning for the future. He had no other choice. Actually, Jia Jinyan was very clear that a cultivator with such outstanding ability like Xiaofan definitely had his own ideas. He wouldn't always stay by Jia Muzhen's side to assist him. Moreover, Xiaofan had already told him that sooner or later he would go look for his father. It was even more impossible for him to stay with the Jia family forever. Jia Jinyan only hoped that if Jia Muzhen were to encounter any trouble in the future, Xiaofan would be able to give him a few words of advice or lend him a hand. He would be perfectly satisfied. In order to pave the way for Jia Muzhen, Jia Jinyan thought about it. He didn't expect to be able to use gold, silver, or jewelry to keep Xiaofan in the Jia family. After thinking about it, he could only use the Jia family's influence in the inner martial arts world to make some preparations for Xiaochen in advance. Of course not. Thank you, clan leader, for your enthusiasm. Xiaochen will remember it in his heart. Xiaochen naturally knew what Jia Jinyan meant. He didn't want to go against his good intentions, so he casually replied. He turned around and nodded in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. He lightly said, "Young Master Tang, young Master Yu, it's a pleasure to meet you." When Jia Jinyan saw that Xiaochen appreciated his kindness, he felt deeply gratified. He smiled and stood to the side. Yu Dongsheng quickly responded with a smile. Although he didn't have a good impression of Xiaochen, Jia Jinyan was still at the side. No matter what, he had to put on an act. Tang Qianling also reluctantly nodded and took it as a greeting. Xiaochen didn't take their actions to heart. He only glanced at Tang Qianling indifferently. Suddenly, he said with a surprised expression, it's incredible. It's incredible. Young Master Tang, a divine light shot out from the top of your head. Did you know that? Tang Qianling suddenly froze. Why did Xiaochen's word sound so familiar? Where did I hear it? But I couldn't remember it at the moment. And why did this kid suddenly praise me so much? Could it be that he has some ulterior motives? Jia Jinyan and Yu Dongsheng also looked at each other in astonishment. They both felt that Xiaochen was a bit strange. Jia Jinyan felt that Xiaochen's words were inexplicable. It didn't seem right to say that he was praising him. But it didn't seem like he was mocking him. What was Xiaochen trying to do? Yu Dongsheng, on the other hand, was a little displeased in his heart. Jia Jinyan had clearly introduced the two of them to Xiaochen just now, yet this brat only praised Tang Qianling and ignored him. Wasn't he a little too condescending? Looking at Tang Qianling's dumbfounded expression, Xiaochen smiled and said, TSK, I didn't expect you to have such a strong physique at such a young age. You are simply a rare cultivation genius. If one day, you accidentally open up the conception and governing vessels, wouldn't you be like a dragon that soars to the heavens? I say, Xiaochen, did you take the wrong medicine? Tang Qianling stared at Xiaochen suspiciously. Xiaochen suddenly approached Tang Qianling and said in a low voice, "How is your cultivation of the 5 poisons secret manual? I see that your face is glowing with pride. Could it be that you really succeeded in cultivating this useless thing?" Who said it's useless? Tang Qianling's expression changed and immediately retorted, "After I cultivated the second half of the manual, my level increased by several levels. Now, I'm about to finish cultivating." Before he could finish speaking, Tang Qianling suddenly realized that he had let the cat out of the bag. He immediately covered his mouth and widened his eyes vigilantly, staring at Xiaochen. He was afraid that Xiaochen would be tempted and come to snatch his secret manual. Chapter 1145. Oh, so that's how it is. Xiaochen curled his lips and rolled his eyes thoughtfully. Suddenly, he stood up straight and didn't bother with Tang Qianling anymore. Instead, he turned to Jia Jinyan and said, "I'm sorry, Patriarch Jia. I suddenly remembered that I still have some important things to do. Please forgive me for taking my leave first. I'll drink with you another day. Goodbye." "No problem, Xiaochen, my little friend, it's already my great honor for you to come to this banquet. Hurry up and do your thing." Jia Jinyan smiled and patted Xiaochen's shoulder. Jia Jinyan didn't blame Xiaochen at all. He had already keenly felt that Xiaochen and Tang Qianling didn't seem to get along. There might be some conflicts between the two, so he didn't force him to stay. After watching Xiaochen leave, Jia Jinyan didn't have any interest in continuing to chat with Tang Qianling and Yu Dongsheng. He casually made up an excuse and left the two to receive other distinguished guests. Since Xiaochen hated Tang Qianling, Jia Jinyan felt that there was no need to feign civility with him. Anyway, the family would be handed over to Jia Muzhen to take care of in the future. These grudges and entanglements would be solved by the younger generation. In fact, Jia Jinyan was already secretly regretting that he was too rash in his matchmaking this time. He should have asked Xiao Chen's attitude in advance. He only hoped that Xiao Chen wouldn't blame him because of this matter. Although they were very unhappy with Jia Jinyan's indifferent attitude, Tang Qianling and Yu Dongsheng didn't dare to act rashly. After all, they were now in the Jia family's territory. They could only secretly endure and pretend that nothing had happened. Yu Dongsheng was also very straightforward. He directly turned around and plunged into the crowd, talking loudly with people. Tang Qianling gloomily stared at Xiao Chen's back. He was a little puzzled. What's going on with this kid? After asking so many questions, Tang Qianling thought that Xiao Chen wanted to rob him of the 5 Poisons secret book. In the end, after asking the question, he just patted his butt and left, causing him to be vigilant for so long in vain. After much consideration, Tang Qianling could only assume that Xiao Chen was afraid that the honor mystic realm was about to open. It was unwise for him to snatch his secret manuals and become enemies with the Tang family. Therefore, Xiao Chen chose to give up and did not dare to kill him. Tang Qianling only calmed down after thinking that he had figured it out. He sneered inwardly, Xiao Chen, oh, Xiao Chen, don't think that you're so powerful. Wait until I master the 5 Poisons secret manual, let's see if you still dare to challenge me. Xiao Chen naturally didn't know about Tang Qianling's unspoken criticism. He took the girls to eat around the banquet. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, he saw that Jia Muzhen was still entertaining the VIPs, so he greeted him and indicated that he would be leaving first. Jia Muzhen knew that Xiao Chen had just returned and must be tired, so he didn't ask them to stay and sent them out. Xiao Chen walked out with the girls, chatting and laughing. Tian Souring suddenly thought of something and asked Xiao Chen, "Hubby Xiao Chen, what were you talking about with that bastard Tang Qianling just now? Sister Souring thought that you were going to beat him up in public. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see the show." After saying that, Tian Souring waved her little fist. She felt that she had beaten Tang Qianling too hastily and it wasn't satisfying enough. Therefore, she wanted to find another opportunity to teach this guy a lesson and embarrass him again. Isn't it easy to beat that guy up? Anytime. Xiao Chen laughed and rubbed Tian Souring's head. But this time, I still have to give some face to Jia Muzhen and the Jia family's patriarch. It's not good to mess around at the Jia family's banquet. Alright, next time, Sister Souring will make him suffer a little more. Otherwise, it will be hard to quell the anger that I have accumulated from being bullied by him for so many years. Tian Souring pouted and snorted. By the way, Menjing, did you see Tang Qianling just now? Did you notice anything? Xiao Chen thought that beating up Tang Qianling was secondary. The key was to figure out what the black fog on his body was. Nope. I was busy eating. Who had the time to care about him? There were also a few rascals who wanted to strike up a conversation, but they were all sent away by me and Ling, Cheng Menjing asked curiously. Yes. It's all thanks to Menjing and Sister Ling, Ling Qinxua nodded. Seeing that Xiao Chen was frowning slightly, she asked curiously, "What's wrong, Xiao Chen? Is there a problem with Tang Qianling?" Xiao Chen nodded and explained, "Just now, I realized that there was a vicious aura lingering around his body. To be precise, there was a kind of black fog surrounding him. But I'm not too sure about the specifics, so I talked to him a little more. My initial guess is that it should be because he has cultivated the 5 Poisons secret manual." Tian Souring, who was originally jumping up and down, was startled. She thought for a moment and asked doubtfully, "It can't be? Sister Souring also saw him just now. Why didn't I notice the black fog you were talking about? Maybe your cultivation level is too low, so you couldn't see the black fog on his body." Xiao Chen casually lied. He had already noticed it just now. The others also didn't see the black fog on Tang Qianling's body. It was probably because he was a cultivator and his divine sense was extraordinary that he could see it. He wanted to ask Cheng Menjing if she had seen it or not, but unfortunately, the young lady only cared about eating and didn't see anything. Tian Souring was even more nervous now. She asked carefully, Then I have also cultivated the 5 poisons secret manual. Will I become like him in the future? Seeing that Xiaochen was so reasonable, Tian Souring couldn't help but feel regretful. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have cultivated the 5 poisons secret manual. What if he became like Tang Qianling in the future and emitted black fog all over his body? Although it looked awesome, it would be too ugly, wouldn't it? Xiao Chen's husband would definitely hate him. Xiao Chen comforted Tian Souring, It's okay. It seems that Tang Qianling only emitted the black fog after cultivating the second half of the 5 poisons secret manual. You should have only cultivated part of the 5 poisons secret manual, right? Tang Qianling probably wouldn't be so kind as to give you the whole secret manual, so it should be okay. Speaking up to this point, Xiaochen turned his head and looked at Tang Tang beside him. Although her eyes were empty and her expression was confused, her body was still very clean. There was no black fog lingering around her. Tang Tang had also cultivated the 5 poisons secret manual. Her body also didn't emit black fog. Therefore, Xiaochen speculated that the content of her cultivation should be similar to Tian Souring's. Oh, that's great. Sister Souring doesn't want to become like Tang Qianling. When that time comes, I'll be black and swarthy like a ghost. Tian Souring was relieved and patted her chest. Although she also yearned for powerful strength, a girl's love for beauty still prevailed. If the price to pay was too high, she would rather not have this kind of strength. After chatting for a while, they had already walked to the entrance of Jia Muzin's courtyard. Originally, Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing should be in one room, and little Chick Xing should go to another room. However, as Xiao Chen walked, he realized that little Chick Xing had been following behind him. Chapter 1146. Young Master Ladyboy, why are you following us? Do you want to cultivate with us? Xiao Chen stopped in front of the door and turned around to tease her. Damn you, Xiao Chen, who wants to cultivate with you? Little girl Xing glared at him hatefully. When she saw the gazes of the other girls turn to look at her, she suddenly felt a little nervous and quickly added, I have something to discuss with you. It's about awakening Heaven Gate. Oh, sure. Xiao Chen nodded and let Cheng Menjing and the others enter the room. He walked 2 steps out and came to the garden with little girl Xing. Then he asked, What's the matter? What does Awakening Heaven Gate want to do this time? That's not it. Didn't Situ Qitian ask me to investigate your skill before? It's already been a few days. Do you think I should give the sect a call and make a routine report? I'm also afraid that they will be suspicious. Little girl Xing asked hesitantly. She had been hesitating for a few days. Ever since she came out from Awakening Heaven Gate, she had been wondering if she should contact Elder Sunday. However, because of the unpleasant things that had happened before, she didn't know what to say when she called. After thinking about it, she decided to ask Xiao Chen's opinion first. Ever since she found out that Awakening Heaven Gate used living people for experiments to create bio-human puppets, little girl Xing's impression of Awakening Heaven Gate had plummeted. Previously, she had heard it from others and still had some doubts. When she heard Situ Qitian personally admit it, her whole person received a strong impact. At this time, her feelings for Awakening Heaven Gate could be said to be love and hate. It was extremely complicated. She was even more puzzled and disgusted with Situ Qitian, the sect leader, so she was too lazy to use honorifics and simply called him by his name. Oh. Xiao Chen pondered for a moment and nodded. Okay, you can give Sun a reply and continue to help me inquire about the information of the control potion. I'll tell them that you didn't manage to get the information, so you want to use it to exchange for the secret of my skill. Xiao Chen didn't care about Qi Tianmen's suspicion. He just wanted to get the information of the potion first and then detoxify Tang Tang. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said that the longer this potion existed in the body, the more harmful it would be to the body. He couldn't delay it any longer. Little Xing replied with an, "Oh," and lowered her head to take out her phone. Xiaochen suddenly thought of something and added, "But you have to be careful when you make the report. I'm guessing that they're wary of you and think that you're under my control. That's why you called them." Little Xing shrugged noncommittally and took out her new cell phone. Xiaochen glanced at it and almost burst out laughing. He pointed at her cell phone and teased, "I say, young master transvestite, isn't your cell phone a little too shiny and cute? This is completely inconsistent with your character. TSK, what do you know? I like this kind of cell phone, can't I?" Little Xing glared at Xiaochen fiercely, lowered her head, and opened up her contact list, looking for Elder Sun's number. Xiaochen smiled but didn't say anything. He didn't expect that Little Xing, who usually looked serious, was like an innocent little girl. But this was normal, girls should be like this. Little Xing had already found the number. She pressed the call button and made a shushing gesture to Xiaochen, "Shh. Don't say anything, it'll be troublesome if we get exposed later." On the other side, Elder Sun picked up his cell phone and looked at Little Xing's name on the screen. He frowned and didn't know whether he should answer the call or not. After a moment of silence, Elder Sun pressed the button to answer the call. He then said in a calm tone, "Little Xing. How's the mission? Did you find out about Xiaochen's skill?" "This." Reporting to Elder Sun, "I tried asking a few times in the past few days, but Xiaochen has always been very cautious. He didn't tell me any secrets about his skill." Little Xing's voice was a little weak, but she still pretended to be calm and continued, "I thought about it. If you can help me get the information about the medicine from last time, I might be able to use it as a bargaining chip to make a deal with him." This was the first time Little Xing reported to the sect after she left with Xiaochen. So she didn't have much confidence. She was a little nervous, and her palms were sweating. "Is that so?" Elder Sun didn't immediately agree to Little Xing's request. He first dragged out his voice as if he was thinking, then suddenly asked, "Little Xing, do you remember the first mission you accepted?" I remember. It was an enemy sect that came to challenge the sect. I defeated all 11 of them, and they retreated with their tails between their legs." Little Xing was stunned for a moment, then subconsciously replied. "When is sect leader Situ's birthday? Do you still remember who the founder of the Open Heaven Gate was? Is your room on the left or right side of the Open Heaven Gate? Also." Elder Sun immediately asked a series of questions. He didn't even seem to be out of breath. "Sect leader Situ's birthday is..." Little Xing already understood the purpose of Elder Sun's questions. It was obvious that he was testing to see if she was under Xiaochen's control when she made the call. She immediately relaxed and said the correct answer unhurriedly. Then, she pretended to be anxious and asked, "Elder Sun, why are you suddenly asking me these questions? Did something big happen in the sect? Should I hurry back?" No need. It's nothing. I was just asking casually. Old people have bad memories. Important things should be mentioned more often." Little Xing answered all the questions correctly. Elder Sun was naturally very satisfied. However, he still cursed in his heart, what kind of big thing could happen in the Open Heaven Gate? Isn't the most troublesome person you are? If it wasn't for the fact that you were inexplicably controlled by Xiaochen, I wouldn't have wasted so much time asking so many questions to test you. So it's like that. Little Xing nodded her head and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. She couldn't help but admire Xiaochen. He actually guessed Elder Sun's possible reaction. Grumbling was one thing, but Elder Sun was certain that little Chick Xing wasn't being controlled, so he finally let his guard down. Recalling her earlier suggestion, he said coldly, "I definitely can't give you the information on those medicines. However, I can explain to you the effects of the medicines, or some other information in this area. You can use these things to negotiate with Xiaochen. Little Xing raised her head and glanced at Xiaochen. Xiaochen's divine sense was extraordinary. He could actually hear the contents of their conversation clearly. He nodded slightly at Little Xing. Before Little Xing could agree, Elder Sun suddenly asked, "That's right. Why does Xiaochen want this information so badly?" Chapter 1147. Here's the thing. There's a woman named Tang Tang around Xiaochen. Someone wanted to control her, so they injected her with the medicine developed by our sect, causing her to become a little dull. Xiaochen wanted to restore her to her original state, so he asked me to steal the information, Xing Chick explained. Tang Tang. Elder Sun repeated the name several times, but he had no recollection of it in his mind. Lady Xing suddenly had a flash of inspiration and added, "If the information is not enough, you can also give me the antidote for this drug, and I will pass it to Xiaochen. This way, I can gain his trust, and from there, I can get more information about him." Xiaochen smiled bitterly and secretly shook his head. This girl was still too naive. He didn't even want to give her the information, so how could he give her the antidote? "I can't give you the antidote either." Sure enough, Elder Sun immediately refused, and then said, "But I can help you find out what kind of medicine this Tang Tang was injected with, and then I will tell you how to cure it." "Well, okay then. Tang Tang is controlled through a token, so it should be easy to find." Xing Chick had no choice but to describe the token to see if Elder Sun could remember it. Before Xing Lass could finish her sentence, Elder Sun suddenly thought of something and interrupted her. "Wait. The token you mentioned just now, is it completely black and made of ebony? Is there our Awakening Sect's logo on the top of the token?" Yes. It's exactly as you said." "You remember it?" Xing Chick quickly replied. "That's a lot easier. I was wondering why I couldn't remember this person's name, so that's it." Elder Sun slapped his thigh and connected the dots. "The medicine you're talking about is the first generation of medicine developed by Awakening Sect. After taking the medicine, it is controlled through the token. At that time, we gave this medicine to the 3 families to test. I guess that girl was the one they found. Yes, it should be the Tang family's test subject, and then she was saved by Xiaochen. But he didn't seem to know how to control Tang Tang, so he let her be in a daze every day." Xing Chick also said in a tone of sudden realization. "TSK, what does he know? This kind of medicine requires the initiator to use a certain method to make the user obey the order through the token. He's not the controller, so of course he doesn't know." Elder Sun snorted disdainfully. Then, with a hint of pride, he said, "Fortunately, we have already considered this. Everyone who has consumed the potion, although their minds will be controlled, they will still retain the consciousness to cultivate on their own. Therefore, even if no one is controlling them, they will still cultivate on their own, ensuring that their strength will not regress. So that's how it is. Then what's the cure for this kind of drug?" Little Lady Xing asked with a frown. This Elder Sun blabbered on for so long, but he still didn't get to the point. "Oh, this drug was developed in a hurry, so there was no antidote." Elder Sun's first sentence caused Lady Xing's and Xiaochen's expressions to change at the same time. However, Elder Sun immediately added, "However, we later discovered that this medicine is only effective on cultivators below the honorable level. If the person being controlled has reached the honorable level, the medicine will no longer be effective. Therefore, our Awakening Heaven sect developed the 2nd generation of cyborgs. They are also effective on honorables and can be used from a distance." Elder Sun's voice stopped abruptly. He suddenly realized that he had said too much. "Okay, that's all I can tell you." Elder Sun immediately stopped and changed the topic. "Hurry up and exchange for Xiaochen's secret. Don't fail again this time." Only a honorable level master can automatically remove it. Is there no other way?" Little Lady Xing was anxious and asked repeatedly. However, before she could finish, she heard a beep-beep sound from the other end of the phone. Obviously, Elder Sun had hung up the phone. Little Lady Xing was so angry that she almost smashed the phone. What the hell is this Elder Sun doing? What's the use of giving this little information? What Xiaochen wanted was a solution, but there was no antidote at the moment. He could only let Tang Tang advance to the honorable level. How was that possible? This was simply inexplicable. Looking at little Lady Xing's furrowed brows and angry face, Xiaochen felt a little helpless. Although he didn't know if Elder Sun was just making excuses when he said there was no antidote, the possibility of getting the antidote at the moment was not very high. It was just that rashly wanting Tang Tang to advance to the honorable level was not that easy. Xiaochen, I'm sorry. I wasn't able to get the antidote from Elder Sunday. It seems that you have to think of another way. Little Lady Xing put down the phone and sighed. Looking at Xiaochen's serious expression, she felt a little guilty in her heart. It's all Open Heaven sect's fault. They actually researched such a harmful drug when they had nothing better to do. Moreover, they want me to work like a slave for this despicable sect and help them harm others. Sigh, I actually didn't realize this before. I must have been blind. It's okay. This can't be blamed on you. I will think of another way. Xiaochen patted little Lady Xing's shoulder and shrugged. Isn't it just advancing to the honorable level? For me, it's a piece of cake. You don't have to comfort me. This is cultivation. It's not that easy. Little Lady Xing did not believe what Xiaochen said at all. She was still depressed. Xiaochen smiled and said, "Have you forgotten? The honorable secret realm is about to open. When that time comes, I will bring Tang Tang along. It won't take long for her to become an honorable level master. But it's not as easy as you think it is to become an honorable level master." Little Lady Xing said worriedly. Although I haven't been to the honorable secret realm myself, I heard that many talented martial kings and demon kings failed to come out after entering the secret realm. Some of them are still in the secret realm to this day. Are you sure you want to bring Tang Tang to risk her life? Don't worry. I will prepare everything in advance. I won't let Tang Tang encounter any danger. Xiaochen looked very confident. For Xiaochen, the number of spiritual jades was no longer a problem. He only needed to enter the honorable secret realm and find a secluded place to spend some time cultivating with Tang Tang. He believed that she would be able to improve her strength very quickly. However, just now, Xiaochen suddenly remembered that he had another problem to solve before entering the secret realm. Tang Tang should be the same as Tian Suruan. She had only cultivated a portion of the 5 Poisons secret manual. This could be seen from the difference between the two women and Tang Qianling. They did not emit a black mist. Xiaochen happened to have the complete handwritten copy of the 5 Poisons secret manual on him, as well as a pill that could assist in cultivation. Xiaochen guessed that this pill should be the right medicine to remove the black fog from his body, the side effects of cultivation. Chapter 1148. Since he had to improve Tang Tang's strength now, he could let Tang Tang cultivate with him first and finish cultivating the entire 5 Poisons scripture. If he could improve Tang Tang to the great perfection of Demon King level 10, it would be easier for him to go to the Venerable Realm. Little Chick Xing didn't know what Xiaochen was thinking. She thought of the many cultivators in Awakening Heaven sect who didn't manage to advance successfully and felt very uneasy. She bit her lower lip and asked, "Why don't I give Elder Sun another call and see if I can ask him for an antidote?" "There's no need for that. Since Sun doesn't know what's good for him, I'll make him pay sooner or later." Xiaochen shook his head. He didn't want to see little Miss Xing begging for help, so he directly rejected her suggestion. But little Miss Xing wanted to argue, but Xiaochen patted her head and said with a smile, "All right, go back to your room and rest first. You don't have to worry about Tang Tang. When she recovers, report to Awakening Gate, just make up a few random sources of skills. Say that I told you, so you can explain yourself. Then. Alright. Little Miss Xing nodded and walked back to her room with Xiaochen. The two of them walked to a fork in the road, and Little Miss Xing suddenly remembered something. Just as she was about to speak, she saw Xiaochen walking in the direction of Tang Tang's room in a hurry. Little Miss Xing thought about it and gave up on the idea. She turned around and walked to her room, but she was stopped by Xiaochen before she could go far. Oh right, Xing Gongzi, when the Venerable Realm opens, go in with us. Xiaochen stood far away and said with a smile, your current strength is too low. It's not enough. When the time comes, I'll help you advance to the Venerable Realm. This way, I'll have a good helper by my side in the future. Although Xiaochen left in a hurry just now, he still saw Little Miss Xing's hesitant expression from the corner of his eye. He thought for a moment and knew what she wanted to say. However, he felt guilty and didn't want to say more, so he took the initiative to invite her. Really? You're not fooling me, are you? Little girl Xing's eyes lit up. She felt a little flattered, but her happiness did not last for long before her face darkened again. But, going to the Venerable Realm requires 100 pieces of spirit jades. The spirit jades I saved up are still in the open heaven gate. I'm afraid I can't. Before Little Miss Xing could finish, Xiaochen waved his hand and said, isn't it just 100 spiritual jades? I can just walk around Tianyu Jade Mine. Tianyu Jade Mine. I can get it. Jade Gongzi Jade. Little Miss Xing, who was originally very grateful, was instantly rendered speechless. She had painstakingly saved up a few years of spiritual jades. It was not easy for her to accumulate the amount, but in the end, it was useless. Xiaochen, who used to look down on her, was now a big shot in the Jia family. Not to mention 100 spiritual jades, he could even go in and out of a high-grade spiritual jade mine freely. She was envious of him. However, when she thought about how she had tried to frame Xiaochen several times in the past, she didn't expect him to not care at all. He even took the initiative to bring her into the Venerable Secret Realm and specially prepared spiritual jades for her. She was quite touched. Actually, from the looks of it, Xiaochen was pretty good. Not only was he powerful, but he also knew how to take care of others. This could be seen from how much he cared about Tang Tang. No wonder so many girls liked her. If she became his girlfriend, she would be very happy, wouldn't she? Pfft. Young Master Xing, why are you so shameless? No, I have to be more reserved. How could I lower my status to chase after Xiaochen for 100 spiritual jades? That's too low. Plus, he's a bad person. If he knows that I like him, he might make fun of me. Forget it, I'll observe him for a while. Xing Tianyu walked back to her room while thinking. Along the way, she was absent-minded and blushed. This scene fell into Xiaochen's eyes. Xiaochen couldn't help but smile helplessly. This little girl was so strange. He didn't know what she was thinking. However, she was usually very strange. In any case, Xiaochen was already used to it and didn't pay it much attention. After walking into Cheng Menjing's room, Xiaochen briefly explained the reason and brought Tang Tang out. He was prepared to let Tang Tang cultivate the second half of the 5 Poisons secret manual at night. This was to prevent any accidents from happening. Standing in the garden, Xiaochen said softly to Tang Tang, Tang Tang, let's go to another room to cultivate. Although her eyes were empty and her actions were dull, looking like a vegetable, Xiaochen still treated her as a normal person. Considering the danger of the 5 Poisons secret manual, Xiaochen was afraid that if he stayed with the other girls, there would be unpredictable situations. So, he took Tang Tang to another unoccupied room in the yard. After entering the room and closing the door, Xiaochen supported Tang Tang and sat cross-legged on the ground. He first took out the 5 Poisons secret manual and roughly flipped through it. After confirming the position of the second half, he placed it on the ground in front of Tang Tang. Considering that if she directly cultivated the second half of the 5 Poisons secret manual, there might be a black fog problem. So, Xiaochen first took out the elixir he got from the ancient ruins and stuffed it into Tang Tang's mouth. Then, he used his primordial qi to make her swallow it. After Tang Tang took the elixir, Xiaochen pushed the 5 Poisons secret manual in front of her. Tang Tang lowered her eyes and did not know whether she was looking at it or not. With Xiaochen's divine awareness, he could only feel that Tang Tang was cultivating. The way the aura flowed in her body should be the way of the 5 Poisons secret manual, but Xiaochen did not know to what extent she had cultivated it. In desperation, Xiaochen had to rely on his feelings and opened the secret manual page by page. He let Tang Tang read while cultivating. Fortunately, his arm strength was amazing. Even if he held the secret manual for a whole day, he would not feel tired. After about 2 hours, Xiaochen had turned the entire secret manual. Tang Tang seemed to have finished her cultivation and began to adjust her breath. Xiaochen couldn't wait to feel Tang Tang's wrist pulse. He wanted to see if her strength had increased. But to his surprise, Tang Tang did not upgrade. She still maintained the original state and did not make any progress at all. No way. Is there a mistake in the secret manual? It should be impossible. Xiaochen took back the secret manual and looked through it. He was very surprised and said to himself. He had read the original version of the 5 Poisons secret manual before. Because of the ability of a cultivator, he had a photographic memory. So, Xiaochen had already remembered the original version in his heart. But when he flipped through the entire secret manual and compared it with the original secret manual in his mind, he did not find any mistakes. Chapter 1149. Xiaochen was a little puzzled. He didn't know what the problem was. Just when Xiaochen was puzzled, he found that the breath in Tang Tang's body suddenly flowed again. She began to cultivate again. Xiaochen thought about it and simply stopped showing the secret manual to Tang Tang. Instead, he carefully observed her cultivation progress. After a round of cultivation, Xiaochen finally found the problem. Although Tang Tang had no mind, she would continue to cultivate. However, the 5 Poisons secret manual that she cultivated was only the previous part, that was, the first half, and the second half that Xiaochen had just read to her was not cultivated at all. Elder Heaven Ancestor, what the hell is going on? I have clearly shown the complete 5 Poisons secret manual to Tang Tang. Why does she still only cultivate the first half and not the second half? Xiaochen really had no way out. He could only try to ask the Elder Heaven Ancestor for help. Well, I have observed for a while, and now I have an inference. Elder Heaven Ancestor carefully analyzed. Do you remember what Elder Sun said just now, that the medicine injected into Tang Tang will let her cultivate on her own? I remember. Xiaochen nodded. I guess, since Tang Tang was injected with the medicine, she will only cultivate the secret manual that she learned before her mind was controlled, that is, the first half of the 5 Poisons secret manual, so that she will continue to cultivate in a cycle, and her strength will not regress. Elder Heaven Ancestor said his inference, but the second half, it must be because she has no mind now, so she doesn't know how to cultivate. This does make sense. Xiaochen also admitted that Elder Heaven Ancestor's inference was very reasonable. He could not help but sigh and said, is there any other way to let her learn to cultivate the second half? Will it work with the method of dual cultivation? Looking at Tang Tang, who was still dull, Xiaochen was a little discouraged. It seemed that he thought too simply. What you're learning isn't the 5 Poisons secret manual, what's the use of dual cultivation? Elder Heaven Ancestor scolded Xiaochen, and then said, but you can ask Tian Suruan to guide Tang Tang's cultivation. Didn't she also cultivate the first half of the secret manual? Let her guide Tang Tang to practice. After Tang Tang understands the second half of the script, she can stop. But, There's only one elixir to restrain the poisonous gas, and I've already given it to Tang Tang. Without the elixir's help, if Soran cultivates the 5 poisons secret book, will she become like Tang Qianling, emitting black mist all over her body? Xiaochen frowned and asked uneasily. Although the method provided by the Elder Heaven Ancestor was not bad, it would be troublesome if Tian Soran was poisoned as well. Sour she loved her appearance so much, so she would definitely not be able to accept her body emitting a black aura. Xiaochen, are you stupid? I said let Tian Soran guide Tang Tang's cultivation, that is, let her assist the circulation of Tang Tang's aura. She doesn't cultivate the 5 poisons secret book, how can she emit black aura? Elder Heaven Ancestor couldn't help but roll his eyes and said angrily. So that's it. That's great, I'll go and find Soran now. After listening to the words of the Elder Heaven Ancestor, Xiaochen finally felt relieved. He immediately stood up, opened the door, and walked to the room where Cheng Menjing and the other girls lived. In the room, the soft breathing of girls rose and fell, and from time to time, someone whispered, but he couldn't hear what they were saying. Tian Soran was wearing very sexy pajamas, lying on the bed and sleeping soundly. The corner of her mouth was slightly raised from time to time, as if she was dreaming a very wonderful scene. Soran. Soran. Suddenly, Tian Soran felt that her arm was gently patted a few times, and her dream was disturbed. She couldn't help but frown, murmured, turned over and fell asleep again. Soran, don't sleep, wake up. I have something important to talk to you about. Xiaochen had no choice but to shake Tian Soran's body and whispered. Because the other girls were also sleeping soundly, Xiaochen was afraid to accidentally wake them up, so he lowered his voice as much as possible. Husband Xiaochen. Tian Soran struggled to open her eyes. She was a little unhappy to be woken up in her sleep, but when she saw Xiaochen standing by the bed, her anger suddenly dissipated. It's me, are you awake? Xiaochen saw that Tian Soran finally woke up, and immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Tian Soran half sat up, rubbed her sleepy eyes, and asked confusedly, why don't you go to sleep? Is it because Jia Muzin is back, and you have no place to sleep? Then let's sleep together. Sister Suren's bed is very spacious. No, I have an urgent matter, and I need your help. Xiaochen said with a bitter smile. What's the matter in the middle of the night? Sister Soran is having a sweet dream. When Tian Soran heard that she wasn't sleeping, she immediately pouted and couldn't help but grumble a few words, and then let out a big yawn. Tian Soran's movements were too big, and Xiaochen subconsciously looked down at her sexy pajamas. Although all the places that should be covered were covered, and it wasn't considered revealing, it perfectly displayed her curvaceous figure, causing Xiaochen to swallow his saliva. Ahem, it's hard to explain in a short time. Put on your coat first, and come out with me. Xiaochen was a little embarrassed, and quickly turned his head to grab a coat from the clothes rack, and wrapped her body with it. Tian Soran blinked her eyes blankly, and when she looked down, she realized where Xiaochen was staring at. Her mind flashed, and she suddenly guessed why he woke her up. That. Tian Soran quickly turned over and sat up, and said shyly, Husband Xiaochen, there are too many people here, and it doesn't seem very convenient. Let's find an empty room. And, the weather outside is a little cold. Put on your coat, and then come out with me. The light in the room was dim, and Xiaochen didn't notice the expression on Tian Soran's face. After carefully helping her put on her coat, he quietly held her hand and left the room. Tian Soran was pulled out by Xiaochen. She was a little excited, but she also felt a little shy. She thought that Xiaochen was finally going to have fun with her, but she didn't understand why Xiaochen still wanted her to put on a coat. Could it be? Could it be that they were going to go outside and enjoy fun in the open air? Thinking of this, Tian Soran's adrenaline couldn't help but secrete quickly, and her face suddenly turned as red as a piece of cloth. She didn't expect that her first time would actually be with Xiaochen in the wild. Usually, she only watched those romantic action movies, and there were such scenes. She never thought that she could try it one day. It was simply too exciting. After being led by Xiaochen for a while with excitement, Tian Soran felt that something was wrong. Xiaochen's husband didn't seem to be taking her in the direction of the wild. Chapter 1150. After leaving the room, Xiaochen took Tian Soaring's hand and walked for a while. Then, they walked into another room not far away. What surprised Tian Soaring the most was that Tang Tang was also there. "Honey, Xiaochen, your hobby is too unique, isn't it?" Tian Soaring glanced at Tang Tang and said to Xiaochen with a weird expression. What hobby?" Xiaochen looked back blankly. What is Tian Soaring talking about? Why can't I understand it? I say, don't tell me you want the three of us to do it together? But Tang Tang hasn't returned to her original appearance. It's not fun to do it. Tian Soaring shook her head with a puzzled look. Suddenly, she realized something and said, "Oh, do you want Tang Tang to watch us do it? This is too embarrassing. Sister Soaring can't do it." Puff! Xiaochen almost spurted out. He was angry and funny at the same time. He stretched out his finger and gently poked Tian Soaring's little head and said, "What are you thinking about? I brought you here not to do it with you, but to ask you to help Tang Tang." "Help? What kind of help?" Tian Soaring's expression was a little surprised. "Don't tell me you want to do it with Tang Tang and then ask me to help guide you?" Xiaochen couldn't help but roll his eyes and said helplessly, "I want you to guide Tang Tang to practice the second half of the 5 Poisons secret book. She doesn't know how to practice it herself. Only you can help her now." So that's it." Tian Soaring curled her lips and muttered to herself. Sister Soaring thought God had opened his eyes. "Today, I can finally leave the ranks of the first girls. I didn't expect to keep it up. It seems that sooner or later, Sister Menjing and I will become 2 first girls." After saying that, Tian Soaring sighed heavily. It seemed that she was very concerned about the fact that she was still a first girl. "Well, don't let your imagination run wild." Xiaochen bent down to pick up the 5 Poisons secret book on the ground. He knocked on Tian Soaring's forehead and then handed it to her. "This 5 Poisons secret book is the complete version. It's different from the one you've seen before. You should familiarize yourself with it first and then try to guide Tang Tang to practice it." "Oh, okay." Tian Soaring agreed in frustration. She opened the 5 Poisons secret book and began to read it carefully. Xiaochen smiled and waited quietly. Although Tian Soaring was a little, she was still a little. She was still a little. Soaring smiled. After reading it a few times, Tian Wangshuo had a general grasp of the second half of the cultivation method. However, she suddenly thought of another problem. This. "Xiaochen, honey, if Tang Tang successfully cultivates the complete 5 Poisons secret manual, won't she be like Tang Qianling, with black gas all over her body?" Tian Wangshuan closed the secret manual and asked with a worried look. She recalled Xiaochen's description of Tang Qianling's appearance when he was shrouded in a black mist. He seemed terrifying, and she felt a lingering fear in her heart. "Don't worry about that," Xiaochen said with a smile. "I've given her a special cultivation elixir in advance, so she shouldn't be emitting black gas. But now Tang Tang has become like this. Even if she finishes practicing the 5 Poisons secret book, what's the use? Don't tell me it can neutralize the poison in her body and wake her up?" Tian Suruan raised another doubt. According to the information I've gathered, if she breaks through to the Martial Highness realm, she'll be able to make the medicine lose its effect completely. Therefore, I want her to cultivate the complete 5 Poisons secret manual in order to increase her strength." Xiaochen rubbed his sore head and added, "If she still can't break through by then, We'll cultivate together and work hard to make her a venerable one. Although Xiaochen didn't have much confidence in his heart, this was the only way. Oh, that's fine. Tian Suruan agreed obediently and asked, Honey, Xiaochen, I've finished reading the cultivation method in the secret book. What should I do next? Xiaochen pointed at Tang Tang and said with a smile, It's very simple. You just need to circulate your aura according to the cultivation method of the 5 Poisons secret manual to guide Tang Tang's cultivation as you usually do during dual cultivation. Okay. Tian Suruan nodded and sat cross-legged in front of Tang Tang, waiting for Xiaochen's further instructions. You can begin now. Don't worry, I'll stand guard at the side to prevent you from going berserk. Xiaochen sat down as well and patted Tian Suruan's head. He instructed solemnly, If you notice anything amiss in the process of guiding them, stop immediately and tell me. Do you understand? Tian Suruan's expression turned solemn. Okay, I got it. Tian Suruan took a deep breath, stretched out her hands and put them on Tang Tang's palms, assuming the posture of dual cultivation. Then, she slowly circulated the cultivation method and began to guide Tang Tang to cultivate the 5 Poisons secret book. Since Tian Suruan had never taken the leading position in dual cultivation before, she was still a little nervous at the beginning. The circulation of her aura was very unfamiliar and unskilled, so the progress of cultivation was also very slow. After a period of time, Tian Suruan's mood gradually calmed down, and the circulation of her aura became more and more skilled. She didn't find anything wrong in the cultivation, so she tried to gradually speed up the cultivation and enter the right track of dual cultivation. Although Xiaochen had no experience in this aspect, he could only sit quietly beside the 2 women and watch. He couldn't intervene and help, but he didn't dare to be careless. His spirit had been in a state of high concentration. His eyes were fixed on Tian Suruan and Tang Tang, ready to help them solve the crisis as long as there was something wrong. As time went by, Tian Suruan's aura circulation became more and more skilled, and the speed of guidance became faster and faster. Her aura and Tang Tang's had been integrated, and the cultivation became more and more convenient. Tian Suruan's face glowed. Thinking that this time she could finally help Xiaochen's husband instead of being the one who held him back, she was very happy and became more focused in the dual cultivation. After a while, Tian Suruan felt a little heat in her dantian. She didn't care because she was concentrating on the dual cultivation. She just divided a little attention to check her body. Ah! Tian Suruan suddenly cried out in alarm. He immediately stopped circulating his mental cultivation method and withdrew his hands. His entire body was still in a state of shock as he sprawled on the ground, panting heavily. Just now, she found that she didn't know when it started. She was also automatically cultivating the second half of the 5 Poisons secret book. Xiaochen was shocked by Tian Suruan's action. Seeing her lying on the ground trembling slightly, her little face pale, and her forehead covered with beads of sweat, he quickly took out a handkerchief from his arms and carefully wiped the sweat for her. Then he asked softly, Suruan, what's wrong with you? Why did you suddenly stop? I didn't find any signs of Qigong deviation. Chapter 1151. Xiaochen hubby, Big Sister Sourness is doomed. Big Sister Sourness is going to be disfigured, boo-hoo. Tian Sourness had a look of horror on her face as she held onto Xiaochen's hand and stuttered. As she spoke, tears welled up in her eyes. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. I'm here. Sourness is fine. Xiaochen comforted her and waited for Tian Sourness to calm down before asking softly, did something happen just now? Can you tell me? I suddenly realized that I've started cultivating the second half of the 5 Poisons secret manual. And I can't stop even if I want to. As Tian Sourness spoke, she sounded like she was about to cry again. What should I do? Big Sister Sourness doesn't want to become like Tang Qianling, emitting black mist all over. That's too scary. Feeling a cold breeze on her back, Tian Sourness subconsciously reached out to touch it. She realized that her entire shirt was drenched in sweat. She couldn't help but pucker her lips. Finally, she couldn't help but burst into tears. Don't cry. Sourness, don't be too nervous. Let me check for you. Xiaofan helped Tian Sourness wipe her tears. Then, he released his divine sense to carefully observe her surroundings. However, he didn't discover any trace of black mist emitting from her body. He couldn't help but feel a little surprised. Hubby Xiaofan, is my body starting to emit black mist? Is it very ugly? Tian Sourness saw the confusion on Xiaofan's face as she asked while sobbing. No, your body isn't emitting any qi at all. Come, let me take your pulse. Xiaofan shook his head and held Tian Sourness's hand. Then, he injected a trace of yuan qi and circulated it through her body. After a round of inspection, Xiaofan discovered that there were no other problems with Tian Wangchuan's body. Only his dantian seemed to be a little strange. He carefully sensed it again and could sense an aura lingering around his dantian. However, there were no other abnormalities. What made Xiaofan a little puzzled was that this aura actually gave him a familiar feeling, but for a moment, he couldn't determine what it was. After thinking for a while, Xiaofan turned around. There was no black gas on Tang Tang's body either. He observed for a while and grabbed Tang Tang's hand. After injecting a sliver of primordial energy into Tang Tang's body, Xiaofan looked inside again. He discovered that her dantian was the same as Tian Sourness. There was a familiar aura lingering around. However, Tang Tang's aura was stronger, while Tian Sourness' aura was slightly weaker. After probing back and forth a few times, Xiaofan found that although the aura was sometimes strong and sometimes weak, it always existed in their bodies. Fortunately, it did not cause any harm to their bodies. Rubbing his nose, Xiaofan felt a little depressed. After checking for a long time, other than that aura, he didn't find anything strange at all. Could it be that this aura prevented Tian Sourness' black mist from coming out after her cultivation? In desperation, Xiaofan had to ask Elder Heaven Ancestor for help. Elder Heaven Ancestor, what's going on with the aura and their dantian? There doesn't seem to be such a thing in the 5 Poisons secret book. Stupid. Isn't that the aura from the elixir you gave Tang Tang before? Elder Heaven Ancestor lectured lazily. After that elixir was absorbed by Tang Tang, it dissolved into the true qi of the 5 Poisons secret book. You can also call it devil qi. I see. Xiaofan's eyes lit up, but he was a little puzzled. Then why does Tian Sourness have it in her body? Could it be? You're not too stupid after all. Yes, it's because of the dual cultivation just now. Elder Heaven Ancestor explained slowly. Tang Tang took the whole elixir, so the aura in her body is more vigorous. During the process of dual cultivation, Tian Sourness' aura blended with Tang Tang's, exchanging and circulating, so she also absorbed a small part of it. But in the end, it's not as much as Tang Tang's, so the aura will be weaker. So, Tian Sourness can also cultivate the second half of the 5 Poisons secret book. Furthermore, she won't emit a black mist like Tang Qianling did, right? Xiaofan was overjoyed and asked. Since the aura in the 2 women's dantian was transformed by the elixir, there was no problem. If Elder Heaven Ancestor's inference was right, then there would be no more worries when cultivating. Yes. But their cultivation is too low, so they can't rely on their own strength to absorb the efficacy of the elixir, so the elixir hasn't fully played its role yet. Elder Heaven Ancestor nodded and added, anyway, now that Tang Tang has learned the second half of the 5 Poisons secret book, you can cultivate with them. While quickly improving their strength, you can also help them digest and absorb the efficacy of the elixir. After that, Elder Heaven Ancestor didn't say anything. Anyway, Xiaofan was already familiar with the 3 cultivators, so he didn't need any more help later. Oh, I see. Xiaofan breathed a sigh of relief and turned to look at Tian Sourness. She had calmed down from her emotions just now and was now looking at Xiaochen eagerly. "Honey, Xiaochen, can Sister Souring be cured?" Tian Souring blinked her eyes and pursed her lips. "If it doesn't work, why don't I give myself to you before the black mist comes out?" Stop, stop, stop. "You're fine. Don't worry. Here's the thing." Xiaochen shook his head, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. He briefly explained the ins and outs of the matter to Tian Souring. After listening, Tian Souring finally breathed a sigh of relief. Since she didn't have to become like Tang Qianling, and at the same time, she could have higher strength than now, why not? After figuring everything out, Tian Souring was ready to cultivate with Tang Tang under the guidance of Xiaochen. Since they had been tossing and turning for a long time, the night was about to pass. The sky was turning white. Xiaochen thought for a while and cautiously woke up Cheng Menjing and the others before cultivating. He explained the situation to them and arranged for them to guard outside the door. Although Cheng Menjing and the others were still a little sleepy, they didn't complain when they heard that they were going to help Tang Tang recover her consciousness. They all agreed. After giving them a few simple instructions, Xiaochen closed the door and returned to his room to prepare for the three cultivators. Tian Souring and Xiaochen had cultivated many times, so they were very familiar with it. Just now, Tang Tang and Tian Souring's aura had also been circulating perfectly, so the three of them quickly entered the state of cultivation. The cultivation did not know how long it had been. Suddenly, Xiaochen felt a strong aura erupt from Tang Tang's body. It swam wildly in her meridians, constantly expanding her meridians. In addition, Tang Tang's devil energy was also growing exponentially, and it was still increasing. Every time her devil energy circulated a great circle, it would double in size and wander in the meridians that were expanded by another aura. Chapter 1152. In the blink of an eye, the two auras circulated 3 times in Tang Tang's body. Then, one went from top to bottom, and the other from bottom to top. They split into 2 paths and surged into her dantian at the same time. Boom! When the devil chi and the aura merged in Tang Tang's dantian, a loud bang was heard. A violent shock wave spread out from Tang Tang's body, sending Xiaochen and Tian Yuanchuan flying. They fell heavily on the ground not far away. Fortunately, Xiaochen and Tian Yuanchuan were in a state of cultivation. Their bodies were full of auras, so they were only a little unprepared for the fall. After Tang Tang exploded, she closed her eyes and fainted. But when she fell to the ground, her eyelids suddenly moved a few times. "Xiaochen, I didn't expect you to be here so early. Let's go. We can sell breakfast after we set up the stall." "Huh. Your fried dough sticks look good, and they're quite delicious. We're going to be rich." "Tang Tang, why didn't you tell me you were sick? Don't sell breakfast. I'll go buy some medicine for you first. Leave the breakfast stall to me." "Pfft. Tang Tang, you're your cousin. But I'm not used to seeing you like this. The original fat Tang Tang is better. Tang Tang, have you thought it through? If you don't replace your mother, then her life will be in danger." "Xiaochen, I'm leaving. I hope you take care of yourself and don't come looking for me." Countless fragmented memory fragments rushed into Tang Tang's brain. They were reorganized like a slideshow, quickly filling up her originally empty brain. It made her feel like her entire head was swollen and painful. After a while, the memory fragments gradually stopped rushing in. Tang Tang moaned and slowly opened her eyes. The first thing that came into view was Xiaochen's handsome face that she was very familiar with. Beside him stood a very beautiful woman. Both of them looked very nervous. But what surprised Tang Tang the most was that they were not wearing clothes. Tang Tang blinked her eyes and saw the two of them say something, but her ears were buzzing and she couldn't hear anything clearly. "Husband Xiaochen, look. Tang Tang is awake." When the tinnitus gradually disappeared and her hearing was restored, the first sentence she heard was from the strange beauty in front of her who was holding Xiao Chen's hand. Who was this tanned beauty? How does she know my name? Why did she call Xiao Chen her husband? Wasn't Xiao Chen supposed to marry Cheng Menjing? What was going on? Tang Tang, how do you feel? Are you hurt or in pain anywhere? Xiao Chen stared at Tang Tang and asked with a dignified look. Then, he grabbed Tang Tang's hand and immediately checked her with his primordial qi. He was relieved to find that the shock did not cause any internal injury to her. Xiao Chen. What's wrong with me? What is this place? Tang Tang moved her lips. Her throat could make sounds, but she couldn't even say a complete sentence. Because she hadn't spoken for a long time, and Tang Tang's brain had just been freed from the control of the potion, she couldn't organize words for a while, and her speech was also intermittent. She tried hard to turn her head and look around at the strange environment around her. Tang Tang felt that her mind was blank, and she was a little scared. Fortunately, the familiar Xiao Chen in front of her could give her a little comfort. Tang Tang didn't realize that she was holding Xiao Chen's hand tightly, and refused to let go for a moment. This is the Jia family of the internal martial arts world. Someone used a potion to control your mind, and then brought you to the Jia family. But it's okay now. You've become a venerable master, and you've completely gotten rid of the potion in your body. You're just a little weak, and you'll be fine after a good rest for a while. Xiao Chen suppressed the excitement in his heart and explained softly. When he checked Tang Tang's body just now, Xiao Chen found that she had successfully leveled up and made a breakthrough. Although she was only half a step away from the venerable master, as long as she took some time to consolidate her cultivation, it wouldn't take long for her to reach the first level of the venerable master. The Jia family of the internal martial arts world. Venerable master. I was controlled by a potion? What? Tang Tang frowned and tried hard to recall, but she couldn't remember anything. She tried to think again, but she suddenly felt a sharp pain in her brain. She couldn't help but groan, ouch. My head hurts so much. Xiao Chen, why don't I have any impression of what you said? Well, Tang Tang, don't think so much. You've just woken up, so you'd better rest for a while. Seeing Tang Tang like this, Xiao Chen couldn't help but feel distressed. He hurriedly activated his primordial qi and gently massaged her head a few times. He didn't stop until Tang Tang gradually fell asleep. Honey, Xiao Chen, what's going on with Tang Tang? Tian Suruan scratched her head in confusion. Sister Suruan, I felt that she had returned to normal and could speak, but then it seemed that she was a little abnormal. It's okay. She may have temporary amnesia. She should only remember the things in the past, but she has no memory of what happened recently. Xiao Chen stared at Tang Tang's cheek, brushed away the hair on her face, and whispered, but it's not a big deal. As long as she has a good rest for a few days, she will slowly recover. Oh, then. Ah! Tian Suruan suddenly exclaimed. She had inadvertently looked down just now and found that her clothes were gone. She quickly grabbed a bath towel and wrapped her body with it, her face as red as an apple. Xiao Chen couldn't help shaking his head and smiling. He also took 2 blankets and wrapped Tang Tang and himself. He hadn't practiced double cultivation or triple cultivation for a long time. He had forgotten just now that the clothes on his body would explode when he broke through. He used to take off his clothes before he began to practice. Obviously, he was careless this time. In fact, Xiao Chen didn't expect that the power of Tang Tang's breakthrough would be so great. Not only did her own clothes explode, but even the clothes of Xiao Chen and Tian Suruan were all burned. As a result, all 3 of them were naked. Tian Suruan suddenly had an idea. She looked at Tang Tang who was sleeping soundly and said, "Oh, Sister Suruan knows. It's that acute temporary mental disorder, right?" Seeing that Xiao Chen nodded, Tian Suruan said angrily, Tang Tang is so pitiful. She finally recovered to be an ordinary person, but she lost her memory again. Humph, those people who injected her with the potion really deserve to die. If Sister Suruan meets them, I'll punch them into meat paste. Chapter 1153. After that, Tian Wangshou still refused to stop. She waved her small fist as if demonstrating, channeling her mind, and punched out. Boom! Before anyone could react, the entire door was blasted into pieces. Even the wall on the side was cracked. Cheng Menjing and the others' screams could be heard from outside the door. What's going on? What's going on? Cheng Menjing asked. Tian Wangshou was dumbfounded. She looked at the debris on the ground and then at her fist. She was so surprised that she opened her mouth wide and couldn't speak. Wangshou, I forgot to tell you that when Tang Tang leveled up just now, you also broke through with her. Xiaofan rubbed his temple with a little headache and said helplessly, you are a demon king, great perfection powerhouse now. You can't just mess around. Xiaofan really didn't expect Tian Wangshou to do such a stupid thing, but it was also his fault for reminding her first. Fortunately, the people outside the door were not injured because of this. Otherwise, it would be big trouble. This. Tian Wangshou was still in a daze. She looked down at her hands with an unbelievable expression on her face. Before Tian Wangshou could react, a group of people rushed into the room. Cheng Menjing shook off the dust on her body and took the lead to ask, Xiaochen, what happened? Did someone come to sneak attack? Looking at the girls who were originally beautiful, but now all looked dusty, Xiaochen smiled bitterly and pointed at Tian Wangshou. Before he could speak, he heard footsteps coming from outside. After a while, Jia Muzhen also ran over with the guards. Looking at the messy room and Xiaochen and others wrapped in blankets and bath towels, he was a little stunned. After coming back to his senses, Jia Muzhen first waved the guards away, then he asked nervously, Xiaochen, what's going on? Did those despicable guys from Awaken Gate send people again? No, it's actually Sister Wangshou's fault. I accidentally smashed the door. Tian Wangshou finally woke up. She stuck out her little tongue and raised her hand to confess in embarrassment. She didn't expect that she would cause such a big commotion. Also, when did she level up? Why don't I have any impression of him? Forget it. Sour, just be careful in the future. Jia Muzhen, you wouldn't mind if Sour smashed your door, right? Xiaochen didn't care too much about it. Instead, he joked with Jia Muzhen. When he had just obtained the strength of a cultivator, he had also accidentally smashed the wall of the dormitory, so he could understand Tian Suruan's feelings very well. Oh. No. I'll get someone to fix it later. It's not a big deal. You guys can move to another room. Jia Muzhen quickly waved his hand and looked at Tian Souring enviously. If others could break through so quickly, why couldn't he? I should ask Xiaochen for advice some other day. Xiaochen chuckled. He picked up Tang Tang with one hand and pulled Tian Souring with the other. He said to everyone, well, Tang Tang is fine now. Let's send her to another room to rest and then change into clean clothes. I'll explain it to you in detail later. After that, Xiaochen took the two women to another room and settled Tang Tang down. Then, he and Tian Souring cleaned up and came out to give a brief account of the previous situation to everyone. Alas, Tang Tang is really pitiful. Not only was she injected with medicine, but now she has lost part of her memory. I hope she can recover soon. After listening to Xiaochen's account, Cheng Menjing sighed slightly. Although she didn't like Tang Tang very much before and always felt that she had stolen her fiancé, she had already gotten over it after so many things. So, she was very sympathetic to Tang Tang's experience at this time. Don't worry, Tang Tang only has temporary amnesia. It may be that after the breakthrough, her brain suddenly received a shock, which caused her to become like this. It won't take long for her to slowly remember. Xiaochen smiled slightly and said. He was quite familiar with the symptoms of temporary amnesia. As long as the patient was no longer stimulated by the outside world, she could basically recover 100% as long as the patient was allowed to rest for a while. That's good. We are all waiting for her to recover. It's a lot of people to chat with. Ling Qinxue said with a smile. When Xiaochen was not there, they had been taking care of Tang Tang. She also heard Cheng Menjing talk about the past, so she was very concerned about Tang Tang. That. Xiaochen, I have something to tell you. Jia Muzhen stood on the side for a long time. At this time, he finally found a chance to speak and quickly said. What's wrong? What happened? Xiaochen looked up and saw the guilty look on Jia Muzhen's face. He was a little surprised and asked. Jia Muzhen hesitated for a moment and said, a few days ago, at the family banquet, I happened to get a piece of news. It may be about your father, what? Xiaochen suddenly stood up and walked in front of Jia Muzhen. He asked eagerly, what news? I heard that in addition to the venerable secret land, there is another very mysterious place in the inner martial world. That place is more advanced than the venerable secret land. Your father may also be sent there. Jia Muzhen said in a deep voice. When he got the news, Jia Muzhen planned to immediately find Xiaochen and tell him the news. However, because there were too many people who wanted to toast to him at the banquet, he couldn't get away. Because he couldn't drink, he was drunk and passed out. In the end, he was carried back to his room by the servants. When Jia Muzhen woke up the next day, he found that Xiaochen, Tang Tang, and Tian Suruan were practicing in the room, while Cheng Menjing and the others were guarding them outside. Jia Muzhen didn't want to go in and disturb them, so he could only put this matter aside for the time being. As a result, he accidentally delayed it until now, so he felt a little guilty. Is this news reliable? Why didn't you tell me earlier? Xiaochen couldn't help but frown. Then he remembered that he seemed to have practiced for a long time. He touched his nose a little embarrassedly and apologized, I'm sorry, it's not your fault. I only focused on practicing with Tang Tang and the others. As for how many days I stayed in the room, I have no idea. It doesn't matter. You were just anxious. Jia Muzhen waved his hand and didn't mind. He added, you have practiced for 4 days. Today is the 5th day. Originally, I wanted to let Cheng Menjing in to see the situation, but I was afraid that it would affect your practice, so I waited until you finished. Is there anything else besides this news? Xiaochen nodded and continued to ask. Chapter 1154. Jia Muzhen poured a cup of water for himself, picked up the cup and drank it in one gulp, then said, this news was spread by a disciple of the Yu clan. He drank too much and accidentally mentioned that a while ago, the Yu clan had helped Awakening Heaven sect to escort 2 people to that place, and these 2 people were previously miners at the Heavenly Jade Mine. Yu clan? Isn't it that Yu Dongsheng's clan? I didn't expect them to be related to Awakening Heaven sect. Xiaochen used his fingers to knock on the table a few times and said with a calm face, it seems that Awakening Heaven sect has their own spies in the 3 great clans. Their schemes are not shallow. Cough cough. Little girl Xing, who was sitting at the side, suddenly coughed twice. Seeing Xiaochen's gaze turn over, she quickly waved her hands and said with a helpless expression, I really don't know about this. I usually help the sect deal with matters in the outside world and the secular world. I'm not too clear about these connections in the inner world. And, I'm not talking about you. Don't worry. Xiaochen nodded and turned to ask Jia Muzhen, what exactly does this Yu clan do? Why does Awakening Heaven sect's people need the Yu clan to help escort them? It's like this. I mentioned to you before that the Yu clan has a lot of secret cultivation books and heavenly treasures, right? Seeing that Xiaochen agreed, Jia Muzhen continued to explain, it's precisely because they have mastered some unique techniques that they can use to open the doors of various ruins and secret realms. That's how they obtained these things. And Awakening Heaven sect may have taken a fancy to this point, that's why they took the initiative to cooperate with the Yu clan. Originally, Jia Muzan didn't have the opportunity to know these secrets. However, after becoming the young clan master, his information channels imperceptibly widened a lot. Some of the core secrets between clans and sects, he gradually came into contact with them during various banquets. Furthermore, Jia Muzan had been purposely helping Xiaofan search for information about his father. As time went by, Jia Muzan managed to capture this situation. Then let's go to the Yu clan and Awakening Heaven sect and capture some people to interrogate. Xiaofan shrugged and said confidently, as long as I can find out the specific location of that place, I'm sure I can open the gate there and rescue my father directly. Xiaofan reckoned that the Yu clan's unique martial skill that Jia Muzan was talking about should be a type of magic array. There was nothing strange about it. He was a cultivator, dealing with this kind of array formation was simply a piece of cake. I'm afraid that's a bit unrealistic. Jia Muzan scratched his head, sighed and said, I heard that it was Situ Chi Tian and the Yu clan master who had personally escorted those two people, so only they knew the location and the method to open the door. You can't possibly capture both of them at once, right? That's too risky. Although Jia Muzan knew that Xiaofan was indeed very strong and could even injure Situ Qitian, the difficulty of capturing him was not on the same level at all. Furthermore, he had to capture the Yu clan master at the same time. This was even more difficult to achieve. This, looks like I can only think of another way. Hearing Jia Muzan's words, Xiaofan shook his head helplessly. Since he could not make a move on Situ Qitian, he could only take a detour. No matter how strong Xiaofan was, he would not be able to capture two experts at the same time. Situ Qitian was definitely a venerable, and since that Yu clan's clan head could control the entire clan, he should also be a venerable like Jia Jinyan. Xiaofan indeed did not have absolute confidence that he could capture them. After thinking for a while, Xiaofan suddenly thought of something and asked again, that's right, how did Situ Qitian get the location of that place? Jia Muzan recalled for a while and said with a little uncertainty, that person said that Situ Qitian obtained the information by chance from the Venerable Secret Realm. Venerable Secret Realm? Xiaofan fell into deep thought. This place had been mentioned too many times recently, causing him to have a vague feeling that something was wrong. Jia Muzan nodded and said, although I don't know the accuracy of this information, I think you can try your luck at the Venerable Secret Realm. Anyway, the Secret Realm is going to open soon. Maybe you can find the specific location of that place when you go in this time? Oh, that's good. After Tang Tang recovers her memory, we will prepare and set off for the Venerable Secret Realm. Xiaofan thought about it and felt that this was the only feasible way. At least they would have a certain goal, and they would not have to wander around like a headless fly. Alright then, I will go and prepare for you first. Fortunately, the pier to the Venerable Secret Realm is closer to our Jia clan, so you don't have to rush. You can go a few days later. Jia Muzan nodded and bid farewell to Xiaofan and the others. He stood up and left his courtyard. After seeing Jia Muzan off, Xiaofan sent the other women to rest. He sat quietly by Tang Tang's bed, gazing at her sleeping face, and reached out to gently stroke her cheek. Thinking of the days when he and Tang Tang set up a breakfast stall and sold fried dough sticks and soy milk, Xiaofan's mouth involuntarily curled into a faint smile. That period of time in Songning Second High School was the warmest and most relaxing period of his life. If it were not for the fact that his main goal was to find his father, Xiaofan would like to take Tang Tang and the other girls to put down all the disputes and chaos, return to the morning market street to set up a small stall, and live a peaceful life. That's right. I wonder how Lu Shuangshuang and Kerlin are doing. Are they doing well in Songning City? If I am not around to protect them, will they be bullied? Alas, forget it. Let's not think about this for now. The most important thing now is to restore Tang Tang's memory, successfully find his father and the uncle of the eldest miss, and then bring them safely back to Songning City. While Xiaochen was waiting for Tang Tang to wake up, on the other hand, Hongzhu had also arrived in the secular world. After meeting up with Li Xiener, she wandered around Songning City for several days, but still could not find a woman with spiritual energy. Both of them were a little discouraged. After a discussion, they could only choose to go to the warrior guild to have a look. Although this place was more dangerous to be found, there were more cultivators after all, so the probability of finding a suitable candidate would be higher. Binoculars, high-definition binoculars for sale. I guarantee that you can see the mission clearly. If you can't see it clearly, it's free. In the warrior guild, Lu Shuangshuang was wearing oversized sunglasses, carrying a small bag, and holding binoculars in her hand, peddling around the hall. Originally, Lu Shuangshuang did not want to come to such a place where people of good and bad people mixed together. She had tried to do other jobs, but not only was the income not high, but it was also easy to be taken advantage of. In desperation, she had to choose to copy her old profession. "Hey! Little girl, how much for a binoculars?" A man with a scar on his face waved and shouted at Lu Shuangshuang from afar. Chapter 1155. 15,000. Lu Shuangshuang quickly walked over when she saw business. She waved the binoculars in her hand. "What? Say that again?" The knife-scarred man frowned and glared at Lu Shuangshuang. 15,000. 15,000. 15,000. Important things need to be repeated 3 times. Have you heard enough? Lu Shuangshuang couldn't help but roll her eyes. She said angrily, "Are you buying it or not? If not, I'm leaving." What the F***ck, this stupid thing is worth 15,000? The knife-scarred man snatched the binoculars and took out a $100 bill from his pocket. He threw it over and shouted fiercely, "I only have 100 on me. If you want it, take it. If not, scram. Leave the thing. Don't. You. Give me back the binoculars. I don't want to do business with you. $100 isn't even enough to cover the cost." Lu Shuangshuang was anxious. She immediately took off her sunglasses and reached out to take back the binoculars. However, the knife-scarred man retracted his hand and put the binoculars behind him. Lu Shuangshuang wasn't lying. The quality of the binoculars was much better than before. She didn't want to sell it at such an expensive price. Although the Warriors Guild didn't charge her management fee anymore, they had set the rule that she had to sell it for 15,000. She couldn't do anything about it. In fact, if the person who bought the binoculars had a better attitude, Lu Shuangshuang could have made less money. She could have sold it for $200 or $300. The Warriors Guild wouldn't investigate how much she sold it for anyway. It was just for show. However, the knife-scarred man's attitude was bad. Lu Shuangshuang simply reported the price. Anyway, it could be checked. In the end, not only did this guy say bad things, he even took away her binoculars. Lu Shuangshuang was so angry that she didn't want to do this business. "Oh, I couldn't tell. You're quite pretty." The knife-scarred man was stunned by Lu Shuangshuang's true appearance under the sunglasses. He licked his lips greedily. His hawk-like eyes swept across her chest and white legs. He smiled cheekily and said, "How about this? It's not like I don't have money. Play with me for a few days and I'll give you 15,000. What do you think?" Ouch! Before the scar-faced man could finish speaking, Lu Shuangshuang was so angry that she kicked the scar-faced man and sent him sprawling on the ground. Lu Shuangshuang reached out and snatched the binoculars from his hand while the scarred man was dancing in pain. She scolded him, "Accompany my ass, you psychopath. Why don't you take a look at yourself in the mirror? Look at yourself. My husband is the White Fox hero. If you don't want to lose your life, you'd better get lost." Motherf asterisk cur, you little bitch, how dare you kick me? The knife-scarred man got up and roared furiously, I don't care if your husband is a white fox or a black dog. Even if the heavenly king comes to plead for mercy, I will kill you. After that, the scar-faced man spat and raised his hand to slap Lu Shuangshuang's face. Stop! Before the scar-faced man's palm could hit Lu Shuangshuang's face, two slender figures stood in front of her. Shuangshuang shouted, and one of the figures even flew up and kicked the scar-faced man's wrist. Gotcha! Ouch! The sound of bones breaking was heard. The scar-faced man wailed and squatted down while holding his wrist with a painful expression. The patrolling guards of the Warriors Guild heard the commotion and finally rushed over. They looked at the scar-faced man squatting on the ground, then looked at Lu Shuangshuang and the other two women. The leader of the guards asked with a sullen face, "What's going on? Don't you know that the Warriors Guild prohibits private fights? There's no law." The scar-faced man immediately shouted and attracted the attention of the leader of the guards. He then pointed at Lu Shuangshuang and complained, "This little girl sold a binoculars for 15,000 yuan. I was surprised and asked a few more questions. She became angry and called for help to beat me up. You have to help me." Oh. The leader of the guards turned to look at Lu Shuangshuang. He knew that a binoculars cost 15,000 yuan, but to beat someone up for asking a few more questions, it seemed to be against the rules. You guys came at the right time. Without waiting for Lu Shuangshuang to explain herself, Hongzhu, who was standing by the side, said coldly, "That scar-faced fellow wanted to hit this young lady, so I taught him a lesson while I was at it. You guys, hurry up and capture him. How dare you order me around?" The leader of the guards was a little unhappy. Even if you were beautiful and charming, it didn't mean that you could order people around in the Warriors Guild. Raising his eyebrows, the leader of the guards wanted to show his authority, but before he could do so, he saw Hongzhu take out a token and wave it in front of him. What is this? The leader of the guards took a closer look and saw that the token was engraved with a distinct Hong character. The leader of the guards was so scared that he almost peed his pants. He immediately closed his legs and said respectfully, "So it's the eldest daughter of the Hong family. I didn't recognize you. I'm really sorry, I'm really sorry. Alright, don't talk nonsense. Hurry up and take him away." Hongzhu put away the token and waved her hand impatiently. "Yes, I'll do as you say." The guard leader nodded, turned around, and pointed at the scarred man with a fierce look on his face as he roared, "Everything in the warrior market is clearly marked with a price tag. There is no mistake. This person deliberately caused trouble and disturbed the order of the guild. He has ulterior motives. Quickly take him away for interrogation." After watching the guards take the stunned scar-faced man away, Hongzhu snorted lazily and turned to Lu Shuangshuang and said, "Let me introduce myself. I'm Hongzhu, a member of the Hong family. This is my friend Li Xiener. Are you hurt?" Li Xiener? Lu Shuangshuang was stunned when she heard this name. She turned around and saw Li Xiener looking at her in a daze. What's wrong? Li Xiener was shocked by Lu Shuangshuang's sudden look and asked in confusion. "Oh, nothing." Lu Shuangshuang saw a completely unfamiliar face and shook her head in embarrassment. "Your name is the same as a classmate of mine. You thought she was your classmate?" Hongzhu smiled and said, "This name is actually quite common. It's normal to have the same name. It can be considered fate between us." Lu Shuangshuang finally regained her senses and quickly thanked Hongzhu. "Hello, I'm Lu Shuangshuang. Thank you for your help just now. Otherwise, I really wouldn't know what to do." Li Xiener stared at Lu Shuangshuang with a strange expression and unconsciously looked her up and down. Chapter 1156. Earlier, when she and Hongzhu had just entered the warrior guild, Li Xiener had sensed a suitable candidate nearby. Could it be Lu Shuangshuang? Lu Shuangshuang was a little scared by Li Xian'er's stare and couldn't help but touch her face. However, the other party had just saved her, so it wasn't appropriate for her to question her. In any case, she could look if she liked, it wasn't like she had to spend money. The two women in front of her were both very beautiful and had a moving temperament. The one called Hongzhu was charming and eye-catching, while Li Xian'er's smile was elegant and refined, making people unconsciously trust them. "You're welcome." Hongzhu waved his hand and said straightforwardly, "Miss Lu, there are some things we would like to discuss with you alone. Is it convenient for you now?" She couldn't be bothered with empty pleasantries. The spiritual energy emitted from Lu Shuangshuang was the same as what she had sensed before, so it shouldn't be wrong. All right." Lu Shuangshuang hesitated for a moment before nodding and agreeing to Hongzhu's request. Although she didn't know what Hongzhu had to discuss with her, he didn't seem like a bad person. Moreover, Li Xian'er also looked harmless, so Lu Shuangshuang didn't feel wary. Perhaps the other party wanted to introduce her to some business? Hongzhu smiled and made an inviting gesture, then led Lu Shuangshuang to a room in the warriors' market square next door. She first ordered someone to serve tea and snacks before sitting down. "May I know why the two of you have called me here?" Lu Shuangshuang asked first. She was worried about the warrior guild's business and wanted to quickly conclude the discussion so she could go back and continue selling binoculars. "I wonder if Miss Lu has heard of the outer and inner martial worlds?" Hongzhu thought for a moment and chose a topic that was easier to cut to the chase. "Yes, I've heard a bit about it when I was in the warrior guild." Lu Shuangshuang nodded. Although she had always stayed in the secular world, she would often come and go from the warrior guild and often hear about the inner and outer martial worlds. "Then it's easy." Hongzhu smiled and continued, "I am from the outer martial world's Hong clan, and this Li Xian'er is a disciple of the Five Elements sect. This time, we came to the secular world to find a woman with spiritual energy and ask her to help us." "A woman with spiritual aura?" Lu Shuangshuang asked again. Finally, she realized something. "Me?" "Yes, we specifically came to you to make a deal with you," Hongzhu said solemnly. "What deal?" When Lu Shuangshuang heard the words related to business, she immediately became alert. Li Xian'er suddenly asked, "You must know some levels of cultivators, right? As far as you know, what is the highest level of cultivation?" "The highest level?" Lu Shuangshuang furrowed her brows and thought for a moment before replying, "I think it's the martial king level, but I don't think I've seen anyone who has reached this level. In the outer martial world, the highest level of cultivators is the martial king and demon king." Li Xian'er nodded and continued, "In the inner martial arts world, there are martial kings and demon kings everywhere. They need to reach a higher level, which is martial venerable and demon venerable." "Oh, and then?" Lu Shuangshuang scratched her head. People of that level were too vague. She had no idea at all. Right now, she felt that the two of them had been beating around the bush for a long time and still hadn't gotten to the point. "After that, it's the place where we're going to trade with you." Hongzhu looked straight at Lu Shuangshuang and said bluntly, "In the inner martial world, martial venerable and demon venerable are already the highest levels, but we are not satisfied with that. We need you to open the door to the world of cultivators for us." "World of cultivators? Isn't it the outer martial world and the inner martial world? When did the world of cultivators appear?" Lu Shuangshuang was confused. What was this all about? "Hee, Miss Lu, please don't be impatient. Please allow me to explain it to you in detail." Li Xian'er waved her hand and said with a smile, "Our Five Elements sect, Hongzhu's Hong family, and some other clans and sects are collectively known as the Immortal Cultivation sect. Our cultivation method is different from that of ordinary martial cultivators and demon cultivators. We can break through to the venerable level, but it is impossible to reach that level in the inner martial world. So you want to go to the world of cultivators?" Lu Shuangshuang blinked her eyes and asked. "That's right, but the door to the world of cultivators is closed all year round. Our immortal cultivation sect has never been able to enter. Only our ancestor Xianzhen, passed down a method to open the door to the world of cultivators. It requires a woman with spiritual qi to perform a specific sacrificial ceremony. Only then can the world of cultivators be opened. And you are this kind of person. Li Xian'er finally finished explaining the whole matter in a simple manner. Then, how did you guys determine that I was the right person? Lu Shuangshuang's expression was slightly puzzled. She usually only sold binoculars in the Warriors Guild, and she didn't do anything out of line. How could they lock onto her? Since we were able to find you, then we definitely have our methods. You don't need to ask anymore. After Hongzhu finished speaking in an unhurried manner, he picked up a piece of pastry from the table, took a small bite, and slowly swallowed it. Even though Hongzhu didn't deliberately make any gestures, the way he ate was still very moving. Lu Shuangshuang was a little fascinated. That's not right. After being fascinated for a while, Lu Shuangshuang suddenly became alert. She looked at Hongzhu and Li Xian'er suspiciously and asked, "Why should I believe you guys? What if you guys take me away and then sell me?" Hongzhu was really a little surprised. There weren't many people who could escape from her invisible charm technique. It seemed like this little girl really had some spiritual qi. Li Xian'er thought for a while, then pointed at the pastry on the table and said, "Then look carefully." Under Lu Shuangshuang's dumbfounded gaze, the pastry suddenly floated up, then slowly drifted towards her mouth. Lu Shuangshuang subconsciously opened her mouth and took a bite. As expected, it was the sweet and fragrant osmanthus flower pastry. Then, with a "pa" sound, the osmanthus flower pastry fell into her palm. Originally, if the pastry was taken away by Li Xian'er, Lu Shuangshuang would still suspect that it was a smokescreen. But now, it was clear that she had eaten this osmanthus flower pastry. Could it be that this Li Xian'er had special abilities? Before Lu Shuangshuang could think too much, she suddenly felt an overwhelming pressure sweep over her, causing her to let out a muffled groan. She felt as if an ancient beast was staring at her, and could pounce on her at any time. But not long after, that pressure suddenly disappeared. Lu Shuangshuang suddenly raised her head and saw Hongzhu looking at her with a faint smile. "How is it? Do you believe me now?" "I believe," Lu Shuangshuang replied in a daze. She also had some understanding of cultivation. Based on Hongzhu's aura just now, even if he wanted to force her to do something, she wouldn't be able to resist. Swindling or anything like that was definitely impossible. Chapter 1157. Li Xian'er nodded and looked eagerly at Lu Shuangshuang, asking, "Miss Lu, can you promise us? We've been searching for a long time. If we don't find it soon, it's very likely that some cruel and treacherous sects will take the initiative. If we let them enter the cultivation world first, it'll be too late by then." Facing Li Xian'er's burning gaze, Lu Shuangshuang lowered her head and pondered for a moment. Biting her lower lip, she asked, "I still have a few questions. Will it be risky for me to do this?" Although she had roughly understood the other party's intentions after listening for a long time and could feel their strength and sincerity, there were still some questions that she couldn't feel at ease without clarifying them. She couldn't just agree so easily. Li Xian'er glanced at Hongzhu and hesitated for a moment before telling the truth. "Miss Lu, we won't lie to you. There will definitely be risks. After all, no one has tried this before, so we can't guarantee a 100% success rate." "That's right. To be honest, you might lose your life, but you might also become a top expert." Hongzhu patted the crumbs in his hand and added. Lu Shuangshuang nodded and asked tentatively, "Is that so? Then I have one last question. If I go, what kind of benefits can I get in return?" Lu Shuangshuang thought about it. If she had to sacrifice herself for the sake of the sect, it didn't seem right. She didn't know what kind of bargaining chip Li Xian'er and the others would offer to win her agreement. There will definitely be benefits. Hongzhu raised his head to look at Lu Shuangshuang and continued, as for what kind of benefits, you can name it. Whether it's money or heavenly treasures, just name it. We will definitely satisfy all your conditions. Lu Shuangshuang opened her mouth but hesitated. For a moment, she didn't know what to say. If it was a while ago and Xiao Chen hadn't cured her grandmother's illness, she would definitely agree without hesitation. But it was different now. Since her grandmother's illness was cured and she had a considerable amount of savings, then, was there still a need to take this risk? If she died, what would happen to her grandmother? It's fine, I know this will be very difficult. Seeing Lu Shuangshuang's hesitant expression, Hongzhu didn't want to force her any further and said, you don't have to choose to agree or refuse immediately. Go back and think about it for a few days before giving us an answer. Really? That's great. Hearing Hongzhu's words, Lu Shuangshuang heaved a huge sigh of relief. If she had to make a decision immediately, she really wouldn't be able to make it. Hongzhu nodded. He took out his business card and handed it to Lu Shuangshuang. This is my phone number. You can call me when you've made up your mind. I'll be staying in Songning City for the time being. Alright, if there's nothing else, I'll go back first. We'll keep in touch later. Lu Shuangshuang put away the name card, bid farewell to Hongzhu and Li Xian, and left the room. Lu Shuangshuang was still a little conflicted. Naturally, she didn't think that she could make a living by selling binoculars for the rest of her life. However, from Hongzhu's tone, if she helped open the door to the cultivation world, her life might be in danger. What would be the point of having money if he lost his life? Moreover, if he went to the cultivation world, who would take care of his grandma? Would he have to rely on Xiao Chen? But now there was no news of him, and she hadn't seen him for a long time. Sister Hongzhu, I think that as long as we put in a little more effort, Lu Shuangshuang should agree. Why did you let her go so soon? Li Xian, asked in a puzzled manner as she watched Lu Shuangshuang leave. She had been looking for so long, but she hadn't found a suitable one. Now that she had finally found a suitable one, Li Xian, felt that it was a pity to let her go just like that. There's nothing we can do. The spiritual energy in her body isn't enough, only about 30%. It's far from our goal. Hongzhu shook his head. Didn't you hear what I said just now? We still have to stay in Songning City for a while and try to see if there are any suitable women with spiritual energy. Why is there so little? Li Xian was very surprised when she heard this. Could spiritual energy be lost? I'm guessing that she has already been raped. If she was still a virgin and full of spiritual energy, I wouldn't have let her go so easily. Hongzhu sighed with a slightly annoyed expression. I don't know which goddamn bastard took such a good girl's virginity. It's not enough for me to find her, and I have to find someone else. At this moment, in the Jia family of Wulin, Xiao Chen, who was sitting next to Tang Tang's bed, suddenly sneezed for no reason. He couldn't help but feel a little strange. I'm already at the nascent soul stage, how can I still catch a cold? Xiao Chen, are you feeling unwell? Cheng Menjing and the other women were packing their luggage in the room. When they saw Xiao Chen suddenly sneeze, they hurriedly asked with concern. The other women also had worried expressions on their faces. It's okay. I guess someone is talking about me behind my back. After all, I'm also a master of the venerable realm. How can I catch a cold? Xiao Chen waved his hand and said with a smile. Cheng Menjing was still a little worried. She simply walked over and reached out to touch his forehead. After carefully feeling for a while and making sure that there were no symptoms of headache or fever, she was relieved and said, You haven't slept for several days. Why don't you go to sleep for a while? We'll keep an eye on you here. There won't be any problems. Xiao Chen turned his head and looked at the piles of clothes and cosmetics on the women's beds. He couldn't help but shake his head and said with a smile, I won't sleep. You'd better hurry up and pack your own luggage. Xing girl is still practicing in her room now. She only has one bag, and it'll be finished in half a day. But you guys, I think you need to prepare 4 or 5 suitcases. But... Tang Tang. Cheng Menjing was a little embarrassed, but she still looked at Tang Tang with a worried face. Xiao Chen understood Cheng Menjing's meaning. He turned his head and stared at Tang Tang's cheek and said, "It's okay. We'll set off for the Venerable Realm the day after tomorrow. If Tang Tang hasn't woken up by then, I'll take her with me." It had been 3 or 4 days since Tang Tang fainted. The girl didn't move at all. If it weren't for the slight breathing sound and the slight undulation of her chest, Xiao Chen would have thought that she had fainted. In fact, Xiao Chen was very clear that Tang Tang's brain was flooded with too many memories when she suddenly regained consciousness. Her brain cells couldn't handle such a huge amount of information, so she could only be in a dormant state for the time being. Chapter 1158. The human brain was similar to a computer. If it processed too much data, it would crash. After her brain sorted out the memories, she would wake up. Okay. If you're tired, remember to call us. Don't force yourself. Cheng Menjing saw that she couldn't persuade Xiao Chen, so she nodded and turned away. After taking 2 steps, Cheng Menjing looked back again and saw Xiao Chen sitting motionlessly by the bed, and Tang Tang on the bed showed no signs of waking up. She could not help but sigh slightly and continued to pack her luggage. "Hey, whose clothes are these?" Tian Suruan suddenly asked curiously. "They're so broken and full of the smell of oil. Why are they still there?" When the girls heard this, they turned their heads and saw Tian Suruan pick up a folded chef's uniform. He flipped it back and forth a few times, and another chef's uniform fell out from it. Then, an envelope fell on the ground, but Tian Suruan did not notice it. Picking up the 2 chef's suits, Tian Suruan looked at them carefully and said with surprise, "Wow! It's a couple's chef's suit. Xiao Chen's honey, this set of men's suit should be yours, right? Who's this set of women's chef's suit?" "Huh? This is..." Xiao Chen turned his head and saw the chef's suit in Tian Suruan's hand. He was slightly stunned. When he was about to explain, Tian Suruan suddenly looked at Cheng Menjing and said, "Oh, yes, this suit should be Sister Menjing's." Cheng Menjing was stunned. How did she get involved? Tian Suruan said seriously, "I remember that you 2 worked together to sell breakfast before, didn't you? Gee, I didn't expect it to be so interesting. You even played with uniforms in private. I'm so jealous of Sister Suruan." This. Xiao Chen broke into a cold sweat and was about to explain when he was interrupted by Cheng Menjing. Cheng Menjing pointed at the female chef's uniform and glared at Tian Souring. She said angrily, "Stinky Souring, stupid Souring, open your eyes wider and take a good look. Do you think I can wear such a big size? This was obviously worn by someone else, okay? Don't blame me for everything." Although she said that, Cheng Menjing was also very puzzled. She carefully looked at the 2 chef's suits, feeling as if she had seen them somewhere before, but she really couldn't remember. Moreover, if Tian Suruan hadn't mentioned it, she really wouldn't have noticed that these 2 sets of clothes were actually matching outfits. She didn't have that kind of bad taste. "Alright, Sour, the clothes in front of you were all brought over by Xiao Chen. Stop messing around and quickly pack up your belongings. Also, don't forget to put away the letter on the ground." Ling Er had just finished packing her luggage and was about to help Tian Souring. She pointed at the letter on the ground and said. Tian Souring picked up the letter and looked at it carefully. Suddenly, his face was filled with excitement. "Waha! Quick, look, it's written for Xiao Chen. And the handwriting is so beautiful, it's obvious that it was written by a woman. Are you guys interested in appreciating the contents?" After saying that, Tian Souring held the letter in his hands as if he had found a treasure. He muttered to himself, Hehe, I wonder what's written inside. Sister Suruan can't wait to read it. However, before Tian Souring opened the letter, Ling Qianxue quickly walked over and snatched the letter. She frowned and lectured, Souring, what's wrong with you? How can you read Xiao Chen's privacy so casually? Maybe this was left behind by his parents. This kind of habit isn't good, you have to change it. After saying that, Ling Qianxue carefully folded the letter. Then, she personally folded the 2 pairs of chef's uniforms and stuffed the letter into the pocket of the chef's uniform. Although Ling Qianxue was also a little curious in her heart, she still respected Xiao Chen and didn't want to open other people's letters without permission. Hehe, if you guys want to see it, then see it. Xiao Chen didn't mind it too much. He stood up and walked to his clothes, explaining, this couple's chef's suit was bought by Tang Tang when I was in high school in Songning City. Tang Tang and I set up a stall on the morning market street, and she spent 120 yuan to buy it online. Dusting off the creases on his clothes, Xiao Chen took out the envelope that Ling Qianxue had put away. Looking at the handwriting on it, he smiled and shook his head. Although these clothes don't seem to be worth much now, it was a big expense for us at that time. So, I deliberately kept it as a souvenir. Shortly after Xiao Chen stood up and left, Tang Tang's eyelashes suddenly moved slightly. However, Xiao Chen and others' attention was focused on the chef's uniform and the envelope, so no one noticed it. Really, really? Sister Suruan, can you really read it? Tian Souring's eyes suddenly lit up. Just as she was about to reach out, she felt 3 sharp eyes staring at her. Her body couldn't help but tremble. She naturally knew who the owners of these eyes were. She could also feel the condemnation in these eyes, so she quickly retracted her hand. In fact, Tian Souring also knew that she shouldn't pry into other people's privacy. However, her understanding of Xiao Chen was never as much as Cheng Menjing. So, she had always hoped to know more about Xiao Chen's past. Now that it was like this, she didn't have any bad intentions. Looking at Tian Souring's eager face, but she didn't dare to reach out because of the pressure from Cheng Menjing and the other girls. Xiao Chen couldn't help but directly put the envelope in her hand and said lightly, of course, this is not a secret. Holding the envelope carefully in her hand, Tian Souring couldn't help but swallow. She felt that Cheng Menjing and the other girls' eyes were more severe. Although she felt a little uneasy, driven by strong curiosity, Tian Souring couldn't help but take out the letter and read it under the light. Cheng Menjing, and Ling Qianxue looked at each other. Although they were a little embarrassed, they all unconsciously stretched their necks and quietly glanced at the letter in Tian Souring's hand. Tian Souring could naturally feel their movements. She was afraid that Cheng Menjing and the others couldn't see it and would blame her again, so she simply read it out loud. Xiao Chen, I've thought about it carefully. Let's break up. I don't think we're suitable for each other. I said you've changed, but in fact, I've changed. Call me selfish or heartless. Anyway, I want to leave. Don't look for me. I won't let you find me. Tang Tang, the more she read, the more Tian Souring felt that something was wrong. When she read to the end, she finally understood. This was clearly a breakup letter. Chapter 1159. She braced herself and finished reading it with great difficulty. Her expression was a little stiff. She held the letter in her hand and looked around, not knowing what to do. Cheng Menjing, and Ling Qianxue also looked at each other and unconsciously avoided Tian Tang's eyes. They didn't know what to say. The atmosphere in the room suddenly became a little awkward and stagnant. Xiao Chen stood there with a calm face, without the slightest expression of displeasure or helplessness. In his opinion, Tang Tang must have her own difficulties to do so. Perhaps due to the special situation at that time, Tang Tang was forced to make this decision. Xiao Chen never believed that she would break up with him out of sincerity. I remember, just when Xiao Chen and others fell into silence, a voice that was very familiar to Xiao Chen suddenly sounded in the room, but he hadn't heard it for a long time. This voice suddenly broke the awkward atmosphere. Everyone turned to look and saw that Tang Tang had sat up from the bed. 2 teardrops ran down her white cheeks. She stared at Xiaochen and said with a trembling voice, "Xiaochen, I remember everything." "Tang Tang!" everyone exclaimed in unison. Are you okay?" Xiaochen immediately ran over, reached out his hands excitedly, and held Tang Tang in his arms. "No. I'm fine." Tang Tang was held in Xiaochen's arms. She felt warm and moved, and said with a choked voice. Xiaochen held Tang Tang tightly for a while before he released her. He carefully checked her condition with his primordial qi and found that there was no problem, so he was relieved. "Wu. I'm sorry, Xiaochen. I was in a hurry to save my parents, and I was worried that if you knew the situation, you wouldn't be able to control yourself and do something impulsive, so I broke up with you. I hope you can forgive me." Tang Tang leaned on Xiaochen's shoulder and said intermittently with tears streaming down her face. "Silly girl, it's not your fault. Why would I blame you?" Xiaochen shook his head slightly and comforted Tang Tang softly for a while. He reached out and wiped away the tears on her face. After a while, Tang Tang's emotions finally calmed down. Cheng Menjing, who was standing next to her, asked incredulously, "Tang Tang, how did you wake up? Do you know that you've been unconscious for several days?" I don't know. Since I saw Xiaochen and..." Tang Tang turned her head to look at Tian Suruan, who was standing there in a daze, and continued, "And this Miss Tian Suruan, we didn't wear clothes. Ahem, after that, my head has been in a daze, and it's very painful. It doesn't seem like I'm asleep, but I just can't wake up. But I can still hear what you're talking about." Tian Suruan blushed a little and explained with embarrassment, that Sister Suruan was cultivating at that time. It's not what you think, it's okay, I know." Tang Tang shook her head and said with a wry smile, "I tried several times, but I couldn't wake up after struggling. Until I heard someone mention the couple's chef's suit and the letter I left for Xiaochen was read aloud. That's when I suddenly woke up. I really didn't expect that Tian Suruan would unintentionally read the breakup letter you left, and she actually made a great contribution." Xiaochen laughed and joked. He suddenly remembered that he had once read a news article about a patient suffering from temporary amnesia. After being unintentionally stimulated, she recovered her original memory. He thought it was a coincidence, but it turned out to be true for Tang Tang. Yeah. It's all thanks to Sister Suruan. Tang Tang, you have to treat me to a meal." Tian Suruan cheered, "If I hadn't found the chef's suit and read the letter, God knows how long you'd have slept." Tian Soran waved the letter in her hand as she spoke. She was so happy that she almost danced with joy. However, when she saw Cheng Menjing and the other girls shooting her looks of disdain, she quickly retracted her posture and stuck out her tongue in embarrassment. No problem. I can treat you to breakfast later. Tofu pudding, soy milk, fried dough sticks, and fried cakes. You can eat whatever you want. You can eat as much as you want." Tang Tang was amused by Tian Suruan's carefree character. The haze in her heart dissipated a lot, and she gradually returned to her previous cheerful character. Eat. You only know how to eat." Cheng Menjing angrily poked Tian Sour's head and rolled her eyes to the sky. She walked to the bedside, took Tang Tang's hand and said softly, "Tang Tang, ignore her. It's good that you can wake up safely now. Xiaochen was so worried about you that he didn't sleep for a few days. Now that he finally saw that you're fine, everyone can be more at ease." "Thank you, Menjing." "Thank you, Xiaochen." Tang Tang lowered her head guiltily. She felt bad when she thought of how selfish she was to break up with Xiao Chen for her own purpose. Well, we're all on the same side. Don't be so polite. Xiao Chen rubbed Tang Tang's head and pointed at the people in the room one by one. Let me introduce you. You know Cheng Menjing. That weird girl next to her is called Tian Sourso. You should already know her. There's also Ling, and Ling Qianxue. They are, After Xiao Chen introduced the names of the women, he suddenly paused. For a moment, he didn't know how to introduce them. If it had been someone else, Xiao Chen wouldn't have needed to spend so much effort to introduce them in detail. After all, anyone with a discerning eye would be able to tell the relationship between Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing and the other girls. But Tang Tang was different. The relationship between Xiao Chen and her was very subtle. They were boyfriend and girlfriend, but there was no substantial progress. What if they were not? But they had almost experienced everything except for the substantial progress. When he realized this, even a thick-skinned Xiao Chen felt a little embarrassed. The words were on the tip of his tongue, but he didn't know what to say. Xiao Chen, I understand. Tang Tang suddenly broke the deadlock. She patted Xiao Chen's shoulder and made an expression that said, I understand. You understand? Xiao Chen was slightly stunned and looked at Tang Tang doubtfully. Although she felt a little uncomfortable in her heart, Tang Tang still looked careless and said straightforwardly, it seems that your cultivation is already very powerful. You can get so many beautiful girlfriends casually, and they all get along well with each other. It can be seen that you are very good. Chapter 1160. It's okay. Xiao Chen touched his nose. It seemed that Tang Tang really understood. However, he could naturally hear that Tang Tang's tone was a little strange. To avoid awkward silence, he quickly changed the topic. Actually, I'm not that powerful. I'm just at the Yuan Venerable level. And thanks to Jia Muzhen, he brought me to the Jia family of the Inner Wulin. Otherwise, I might not have reached this level. What? Venerable? What kind of strength is that? Who is Jia Muzhen? What kind of place is the Jia family of the Inner Wulin? Tang Tang was confused and asked with a blank face. The information in her mind still stayed at the level of the Outer Wulin. It could be said that she knew nothing about the Inner Wulin. Venerable was a level that she had never encountered before. Oh, Venerable is the level after the Demon King and the Martial King. Xiao Chen remembered that Tang Tang had been confused for a long time, so he explained one by one. Jia Muzhen is a classmate of mine when I was in college in Lan City. He is also the current young master of the Jia family. As for the Jia family, as he spoke, Xiao Chen found that if he simply explained Tang Tang's problem, he really couldn't understand it all at once. So he simply waved his hand and said, forget it. I'll tell you this. We are now in the Inner Wulin. As for the Inner Wulin. After that, Xiao Chen patiently explained everything that had happened recently, including the internal and external pugilistic world, the various clans and sects, and even the venerable realm that was about to open. He explained everything in detail. As for what happened after Tang Tang left, Xiao Chen didn't have time to talk about it. If he had to start from the beginning, it would probably take a few days and nights to finish. This. Although I'm still a little confused, I roughly understand it. I didn't expect you to be so powerful. Tang Tang nodded and said while looking at Xiao Chen. It's nothing. And you are now at the Venerable Realm. Xiao Chen shrugged and said to Tang Tang with a smile, in fact, these things are not particularly complicated. In the future, when you have more contact with it, you will naturally master it. Am I so powerful now? Why don't I feel anything? Tang Tang raised her little fist and looked left and right, with a look of disbelief. Xiao Chen smiled and didn't answer. He seemed to be more interested in Tang Tang's previous experience, so he asked, Tang Tang, where did you go after you left? Just now, you said that you wanted to save your parents. What's going on? Sigh. It's a long story. If I were to go into detail, I think I could write a novel. Tang Tang sighed helplessly. She suddenly touched her shriveled belly and swallowed. She looked at Xiaofan expectantly and asked, "Do you have anything to eat here? I feel like I haven't eaten anything for a long time, and I haven't even had a drink of water. I really don't know how I survived until today." "Yes, yes. Tang Tang, wait for a moment. I'll get something to eat right away." Cheng Menjing immediately stood up and walked out. It didn't take long for her to bring a pot of water and a few plates of snacks, as well as some beautifully packaged fruits. She put them in front of Tang Tang and joked with a smile, "Now Xiao Chen is a distinguished guest of the Jia family. We are all basking in his glory. Eat whatever you like." "Thank you, Menjing." Tang Tang first thanked her, and then secretly glanced at Cheng Menjing. She felt quite surprised. She didn't expect that Cheng Menjing had changed so much. She even ran out to get food for her in person. If it were in the past, it would be absolutely impossible. It was already good that this lady didn't laugh at her a few times. "Don't be polite with me. Eat quickly if you're hungry." Cheng Menjing smiled slightly. She carefully poured a cup of water for Tang Tang, and then handed the snacks to her. Tang Tang naturally didn't decline modestly. She took it and began to eat. After eating and drinking to her heart's content, Tang Tang wiped her mouth in satisfaction. She simply tidied up the tableware, and then began to tell everyone about her previous experience. It turned out that when Tang Tang left the Xiao family with the black-clothed woman, she was taken to a sect called the Five Poisons Sect. The black-clothed woman kept her promise and really let Tang Tang see her parents. However, the two sides only met in a hurry. Before they could talk in detail, they were separated again. After that, they didn't contact each other again. Tang Tang was originally waiting to see her parents again. However, a few days later, a few people from the Five Poisons sect came, claiming to be from the Tang family. They said that Tang Tang was of the same origin as them, and that they were originally a family. Tang Tang's parents had already gone to the Tang family to acknowledge their ancestors, and now they wanted Tang Tang to follow them. Because those people from the Tang family had truthfully reported the identity of Tang Tang and her parents, the black-clothed woman from the Five Poisons sect also confirmed that there was no mistake. Tang Tang believed it to be true, and then followed those people for a long distance before arriving at the Tang family. After arriving at the Tang family, Tang Tang didn't even have the time to see her parents before she was ordered to inject a kind of medicine. It was said that it could assist her in cultivating the Five Poisons secret manual. At this time, Tang Tang also made a request. She said that she hoped to see her parents again. However, those people said that as long as she could inject the medicine and successfully cultivate the Five Poisons secret manual, she would be able to see her parents. In order to be able to replace her parents as soon as possible, Tang Tang agreed without thinking. However, after being injected with the medicine, she lost consciousness and sank into a chaotic state. During this period of time after that, her mind was controlled by someone, and she was constantly being ordered around. Tang Tang couldn't remember clearly what exactly happened during this period of time. Five Poisons sect? What kind of sect is that? There doesn't seem to be such a sect in the inner Wulin. After listening to Tang Tang's narration, Xiaofan couldn't help but frown and murmur. If he wanted to understand the ins and outs of Tang Tang's matter, he must start from the source. The black-clothed woman that Tang Tang first came into contact with was from the Five Poisons sect. However, Xiaofan thought for a long time, but still couldn't remember the location of this sect. Although there weren't many large sects in the inner Wulin, there were still many smaller sections. For example, Ling Er's Yinyun sect. These small sects were independent and rarely gathered together. If he really wanted to find them, it would be quite difficult. Moreover, even if he found the Five Poisons sect, he would only be able to understand the situation. He still didn't know whether Tang Tang's parents were there or not. However, there was no other way at the moment. He could only first inquire about the specific location of the Five Poisons sect, and then run over to see if there were any clues. Xiao Chen, I remember that the Five Poisons sect doesn't seem to be a sect in the inner Wulin. It should be in the outer Wulin. Ling said from the side. She usually stayed in the Yin Yun sect for a long time, so she had a better understanding of these small sects that were scattered like stars in the sky. Chapter 1161. Oh. Then do you know where its sect is? Xiao Chen quickly asked. Its location seems to be. Ling held her chin and thought for a while. Suddenly, she replied confidently, that's right, I remember now. The Five Poisons sect is near the Green Rock sect. It's very easy to find. Oh, so it's from the outer martial world. I was wondering why it was so unfamiliar. A sneer appeared on the corner of Xiao Chen's mouth. He stood up to stretch his muscles and then walked out the door. Xiao Chen, where are you going? Tang Tang was shocked when she saw Xiao Chen suddenly leave. She asked repeatedly. Tang Tang was now in an unfamiliar place. She was completely dependent on Xiao Chen. If Xiao Chen left just like that, she would be a little afraid. Xiao Chen turned his head and smiled, Tang Tang, you stay in the Jia family and rest well. I'll go to the Five Poisons sect now and bring your parents back. It'll also be good for your family to reunite. Wait, Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen walked out after he finished speaking. However, he hadn't taken a few steps when Tang Tang shouted and jumped off the bed to chase after him. What's wrong? Xiao Chen saw Tang Tang pull his arm and asked with a little surprise. Tang Tang wouldn't let him go find her parents, right? Tang Tang said with a firm face, I'll go with you. You're not familiar with the surroundings of the Five Poisons sect. It'll be easy for you to get lost. It'll be more convenient with me. Besides, you haven't seen what my parents look like. What if you get the wrong person? Xiao Chen looked at Tang Tang and said with a little hesitation, but you've just woken up. I'm afraid that you. Before Xiao Chen could finish speaking, Tang Tang waved her hand and joked with a smile, it's no problem. Have you forgotten? I'm also a half-step venerable expert. It was you who reminded me just now. Moreover, I felt weak because I was hungry. Now that I've eaten something to fill my stomach, I'm much better. That's right, Xiao Chen, just bring her along. Otherwise, we won't be at ease if you're alone outside. Cheng Menjing also chimed in. Tang Tang was the strongest among them. If she could go out with Xiao Chen, they would feel more at ease. Then, all right. Xiao Chen had no choice but to nod his head, you guys help me explain to young Master Renyao. I'm going to look for Jia Muzhen now. I still have to ask him how to get out of the inner martial world. After saying a few words to Cheng Menjing and the other women, Xiao Chen quickly left the yard with Tang Tang. Finding Jia Muzhen in the study, Xiao Chen briefly explained the purpose of his visit. Jia Muzhen first congratulated Tang Tang for finally waking up, and then without saying anything, he gave Xiao Chen 2 tokens and told him that as long as he used the tokens, he could freely enter and exit the inner and outer martial arts world without any other restrictions. Before Xiao Chen left, Jia Muzhen warned him again that everyone would set off for the Venerable Realm in 2 days. He must return as soon as possible so that he could catch up with the main group. Xiao Chen didn't hesitate when he heard this and immediately agreed. In any case, he was only going to the outer martial arts world to find 2 people. With Xiao Chen's current cultivation, he simply didn't care about the Five Poisons sect. Perhaps he could settle it in half a day, and he could even make it back in time for dinner. Standing in the courtyard of the Jia family, Xiao Chen took out his flying sword and pulled Tang Tang onto it. Along with the sound of breaking the air, the 2 of them sped towards the teleportation array. There were no obstructions at the teleportation array. The two of them very smoothly left the inner martial arts world and arrived near the Greenstone Mountain. Xiaochen observed from the air for a while. With Tang Tang's guidance, he quickly found the location of the Five Poisons sect. Therefore, he immediately drove his flying sword and flew in that direction. Bang! The flying sword had just landed on the ground when Xiaochen took large strides forward and arrived in front of the Five Poisons sect's gate. He sized it up with a glance and immediately circulated his mental cultivation method. Then, he heavily struck out with his palm. With one palm strike, the doors of the Five Poisons sect were smashed to smithereens. With a clang, it fell to the ground. Xiaochen snorted coldly. He held the somewhat stunned Tang Tang's hand and swaggered in. Many disciples were cultivating in the large square behind the gate. They were all startled by the heavy sound and they all gathered around. Seeing Xiaochen and Tang Tang walk in hand, a man who looked older among them suddenly jumped out. He should be the senior brother who was guiding the disciples in their cultivation. He pointed at Xiaochen's nose and angrily cursed, "Who are you? You actually dare to trespass into the Five Poisons sect's important place? Are you all tired of living? What's the point of saying so much nonsense? This young master can't be bothered to talk nonsense with an errand boy like you. Hurry up and call the Five Poisons sect leader out. This young master has something to ask him." Xiaochen glanced at him and stood proudly on the spot. He impatiently waved his hand and said. With Xiaochen's current strength, he really couldn't chat with these low-level cultivators in front of him. Therefore, he simply disdained these people. However, although he thought this way, some people didn't think so. "Fuck your grandpa. A yellow-haired brat has come to the Five Poisons sect to act cool. You're courting death." The tall man was obviously infuriated by Xiaochen. His whole body shook, and he revealed the cultivation of a devil general paragon. He flew towards Xiaochen, and struck out with his palm, baring his fangs and brandishing his claws. "Humph, you overestimate yourself." Xiaochen shook his head disinterestedly and even yawned loudly. When the wind from the palm had just touched him, the tall man's face had already revealed a cruel smile. Xiaochen lazily raised his hand and casually waved it in the air. Ah! The tall man didn't understand what had happened when he felt as if he had been heavily hit by something. His entire body was sent flying and fiercely smashed into a stone pillar not far away. Ka-cha! The stone pillar received a powerful impact and in an instant, a few cracks appeared on it. All the meridians in the tall man's body had been broken and he slid to the ground like a noodle. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, he stopped breathing. Originally, Xiaochen didn't want to casually kill people. However, when the man had attacked, he had directly aimed at Xiaochen's heart. Moreover, there was a faint trace of poison in his aura. If Xiaochen's strength was low and he was hit by this palm, although he wouldn't die immediately, he would definitely be attacked by the poisonous gas. At that time, he would be in a state where he could neither live nor die. He could only allow the other party to torture him. Such a vicious person, Xiaochen couldn't be bothered to spare his life. He would just kill him with a single palm strike. After the tall man fell to the ground, the scene became extremely quiet. The surrounding Five Poisons sect disciples all had stunned expressions. Originally, they had wanted to follow their senior brother and show off their prowess. However, they didn't expect that the person who had come was actually so powerful. At this time, the thought of retreating had already sprouted in their hearts. Some of the smarter disciples had already quietly moved backwards. Chapter 1162. You guys, don't just stand there. This young master doesn't have much time, and I still have to rush home for dinner. Hurry up and find the sect leader, or else I'll tear down your Five Poisons sect. Xiaochen looked at the sky and impatiently urged. Xiaochen originally planned to find the black-clothed woman directly, but after asking Tang Tang didn't know her name, so he could only find the sect leader to save a lot of trouble. Seeing the 5 poison sect's disciples flee one after another towards the backyard, probably to find their sect leader, Tang Tang was a little worried as she pulled on Xiao Chen's sleeve and asked, "Xiao Chen, aren't we being too arrogant by doing this? After all, the 5 poison sect doesn't seem to be easy to provoke. If that sect leader is really powerful, what are we going to do?" "Silly Tang Tang, you think too highly of them." Xiao Chen rubbed Tang Tang's head and disdainfully looked at the 5 poison sect's main hall and said, "Even the sect leader of the number 1 sect in the inner martial arts world, Situ Wuji, was beaten to a pulp by me. This 5 poison sect is just a small sect in the outer martial arts world. If I want to kill them, it's just a matter of minutes." Seeing that Tang Tang was still a little worried, Xiao Chen said with a smile, "Tang Tang, don't forget that you are now at the level of a half-step venerable. You can walk unhindered in the inner martial arts world. Right now, we are in the outer martial arts world. If you just casually show your strength, you can scare them away and send them back to where they came from, okay? Don't be so unconfident." "Oh." Just as Tang Tang agreed, she saw a group of people walking over from afar. It seemed that the 5 poison sect's disciples had returned with 2 people. When they got closer, they could see clearly that it was a man and a woman. One of them was an old man with a gloomy face and a shiny bald head. He looked to be around 70 or 80 years old, but he walked with vigor. He was like a hawk and looked like a wolf. He didn't look old at all. Behind the old man was a middle-aged woman. Although she looked middle-aged, she was still attractive. She was dressed rather plainly, but her clothes were a little messy. Her face was flushed, and her hair seemed to have been tied up in a hurry, looking a little messy. Xiao Chen glanced at them and immediately determined that the old man should be the sect leader, but he didn't know who the middle-aged woman was. However, looking at her appearance, he guessed that the 2 of them had taken advantage of the time when the disciples were training to fool around in the backyard. At this time, they were abruptly interrupted, so they were in a very bad mood. "Xiao Chen, this woman is the woman in black I mentioned to you before." Tang Tang stood behind Xiao Chen and whispered. Then, she carefully sized up the middle-aged woman and nodded with even more certainty. "That's right, she was the one who brought me to the 5 poison sect." At this time, the middle-aged woman also saw Tang Tang. A look of surprise flashed through her eyes. Although she was a little puzzled as to why this little girl had returned, she didn't point it out right away. He raised his head to look at the smashed door, then lowered his head to look at the old man who had long since died. The bald sect leader suspiciously sized up Xiao Chen for a while, but he didn't immediately attack him. Instead, with a cold expression, he said in a deep voice, "Young man, just who are you? Do you know what the consequences of causing trouble in the 5 poison sect are?" "It's her, right?" Xiao Chen didn't pay attention to the bald sect leader's question at all. Instead, he turned his head to confirm with Tang Tang. When he saw Tang Tang nod, he waved his hand and said, "Damn Baldy, there's nothing for you to do here for now. Go play somewhere else. Get that loose woman behind you to quickly roll over here. I have something to ask her." "You." The middle-aged woman's face flushed red. She fiercely glared at Xiao Chen. She hurriedly tidied up her clothes and beautiful hair. She gritted her teeth and said, "Sect leader Cho, this kid's mouth is full of nonsense. Please allow me to kill him." Seeing that the middle-aged woman was about to rush forward, sect leader Cho immediately stopped her and shook his head slightly. Although he was also very displeased, sect leader Cho still forcefully suppressed the anger in his heart. He patiently said, "Kid, let this old man give you a word of advice. Don't be too ruthless with your words. Do you think that after killing my disciple and smashing my 5 poison sect's door, you can still escape unscathed today?" Actually, sect leader Cho was still more rational. As the sect leader, he naturally wouldn't be as impulsive as his disciple. Although the 5 poison sect scale in the martial arts world wasn't large, everyone in the sect was an expert in using poison. Since this kid in front of him dared to directly break into the sect's door, it would be easy for him to destroy the door with one palm. However, his own eldest disciple had the strength of a devil general great perfection. Yet, he could actually easily kill him with one palm. Moreover, he didn't seem to be injured at all. Based on this point alone, sect leader Cho felt that this kid wasn't simple. To be cautious, he planned to first probe Xiao Chen's strength before considering the follow-up. This young master doesn't have the time to talk nonsense with you guys. Xiao Chen's patience was basically running out. He simply circulated his mental cultivation method and directly revealed the strength of a venerable. As soon as the venerable's coercion was released, sect leader Cho and the middle-aged woman immediately turned pale. After the coercion spread out, the disciples who were hiding in the distance couldn't help but kneel on the ground with a plop. Their foreheads were covered in cold sweat, and they simply couldn't muster up any thoughts of resisting. Xiaochen snorted coldly and said to the middle-aged woman, "Stop putting on an act in front of this young master. Where did you take Tang Tang's parents to? Hurry up and tell me. If you tell me the truth, maybe this young master is in a good mood and will let you live. Otherwise..." Venerable. Venerable. You are a venerable. Sect leader Cho stuttered for a long time and couldn't speak clearly. He had been scared silly. Although he only had the strength of a devil general at the peak, he could be regarded as a relatively powerful character in the outside martial arts world. The most powerful people he had seen in the outside martial arts world were Martial King and Devil King masters. As for the legendary venerable, he only had admiration, and couldn't have the slightest provocation. He never thought that this young junior in front of him could actually reach this realm. Was he a genius? The world was changing too fast. This. The middle-aged woman's face turned pale and then green. She was so surprised that she couldn't close her mouth. She thought that after the Tang family took Tang Tang away, there would be nothing left for her. She didn't expect that after so long, she actually brought back such a powerful person. If she had known that Tang Tang had this kind of background, she wouldn't have helped the Tang family find her. Alas! What a blunder! What do you mean by this and that? Stop pretending. If it weren't for the fact that I don't hit women, you would have died several times today. Hurry up and bring Tang Tang's parents out. This young master is in a hurry. Xiaochen looked at the middle-aged woman coldly and said word by word. Chapter 1163. He was becoming more and more impatient. After all, he came to the Five Poison sect to save people. But these two idiots, he didn't know what was wrong with their brains. They were actually so long-winded. Duh. Hero, I'll tell you the truth. Tang Tang's parents are no longer in the Five Poison sect. Just. Not long after Tang Tang was taken away by the Tang family, her parents were also taken away by the Tang family. Feeling the huge pressure that Xiaochen emitted towards her, the middle-aged woman's body trembled like a leaf in the wind. She trembled and said, "Really?" Xiaochen glared at the middle-aged woman. Seeing that she was so scared that she almost knelt on the ground, he actually believed it a little. But he still asked fiercely, why did the Tang family take them away? Did they take them to do experiments, or did they have other intentions? Hurry up and tell me. I don't know either. I'm just a small fry in a small sect in the outer martial arts world. The Tang family is a large family in the inner martial arts world. Usually, I have to obediently do things according to their orders. How would I dare to ask so many questions? The middle-aged woman said with a sad face. Where did her original charm go? At this time, she was also complaining in her heart. On one hand, it was the Tang family, one of the three big families in the inner martial arts world. She absolutely could not afford to offend them. But on the other hand, the young man in front of her didn't look like someone to be trifled with. Why was she so unlucky to get into this kind of trouble for no reason? Hero, about Tang Tang's parents, this old man also knows a thing or two. Sect leader Qiu said weakly. They were indeed taken away by the Tang family. If you really don't believe me, you can search the 5 poison sect. Yunlu really didn't lie. Sect leader Qiu was really panicking. He even unconsciously used honorifics when addressing Xiaochen. Obviously, he was very afraid that Xiaochen would kill him in a fit of anger. There's no need to search. I have my own ways to verify what you said. Xiaochen said lightly. Straightening his body, Xiaochen released his divine sense and covered the entire 5 poison sect. He really did not discover the existence of any middle-aged man. Even the people locked up in the dungeon were all young disciples. It was likely that they had done something wrong, which was why they were locked up there. The oldest middle-aged man was probably this sect leader Qiu and Yunlu. Xiaochen, what's wrong? Tang waited for a while. Seeing that Xiaochen stood there with his eyes slightly closed and didn't move for a long time, she gently patted his shoulder and asked with a worried look. Oh, it's nothing. I just checked. Your parents are indeed not in the 5 poisons sect. It seems that we can only go ask the Tang family. Xiaochen retracted his divine sense and looked at Tang as he explained. Well, there's nothing I can do. Tang didn't know why Xiaochen could find out about her parents just by standing there, but she didn't ask because she had unreserved trust in Xiaochen. Then let's go. Tang thought about it and asked Xiaochen. Wait for me for a moment. Xiaochen nodded and turned to the middle-aged woman named Yunlu and asked, who was the Tang family member who contacted you at that time and took Tang's parents away? What's his name? If you say you don't know, do you believe that I won't let you live to see tomorrow's sun? I remember. Yunlu trembled in fright and nodded repeatedly. She frowned and said, he seems to be called Tang Qian. What? Tang Qian what? Hurry up and think. Don't let the hero wait. Sect leader Qiu was anxious at the side. Why are you playing amnesia at this time? Are you trying to kill everyone? Yunlu suddenly slapped her forehead and said with a face of sudden realization, that's right. I remember. His name is Tang Qianqi. According to him, he is young Master Tang's right-hand man. He seems to be quite arrogant. Oh, Tang Qianqi, right? I thought it was that idiot Tang Qianling who came personally. That's easy to deal with. Xiaochen nodded with understanding. Since Tang's parents were not here, he didn't want to stay any longer. He directly took out his flying sword and flew away with Tang in his arms. Dumbfounded, they watched Xiaochen and Tang gradually fly away on their flying swords. Sect leader Qiu and Yunlu did not come to their senses for a long time. What magic weapons were they stepping on? Flying swords? This kind of treasure that could only be seen in books, they actually saw it with their own eyes today. Knowing that the figures of Xiaochen and Tang had disappeared, the two of them were relieved, but at the same time, a sense of powerlessness and fear arose in their hearts. That young man not only had such profound strength, but also had such a powerful treasure. They thought that he must be the young master of an inner Wulian family with a profound background. Fortunately, they had not been impulsive and rashly fought with him just now. Otherwise, they might have become 2 cold corpses. Damn it, it's all your fault, bitch. Sect leader Qiu turned his head and looked at Yunlu with resentment. He scolded, what a bad taste. You actually deceived Tang. You didn't investigate whether there was such a dangerous person behind her. Do you know that the 5 poisons sect was almost destroyed because of you today? Perhaps he still felt angry. After scolding, sect leader Qiu raised his hand and slapped Yunlu hard in the face. Seeing that there was a palm print on her face instantly, he felt much better. This. Sect leader, if I had known that Tang knew such a powerful person, how could I have thought about her? Yunlu covered her bruised cheek and did not dare to argue. Instead, she said with a bitter face, What should we do next, sect leader? Should we tell the Tang family about this and let them help us solve it? Nonsense again. Sect leader Qiu was about to explode. He scolded her, "Are you out of your mind? Why do you ask such a question? Hurry up and give Tang Qianqi a call to report the situation here. Otherwise, when the Tang family blames us, neither of us will have a good time." Whether it was that young man or the Tang family, the Five Poisons sect could not afford to offend them. Now sect leader Qiu could only hope that the Tang family could get rid of that monster, Xiaofan. However, to their surprise, Yunlu took out her phone and searched for a long time before she found that she did not leave Tang Qianqi's phone number. In desperation, she had to choose to call another person in the Tang family who was in charge of this work. After the person in charge learned of the situation, he was also very shocked. He hung up the phone with Yunlu and immediately dialed Tang Qianqi's number. But strangely, no one answered Tang Qianqi's phone for a long time. The person in charge called several times, but there was no response. He had to run to the place where Tang Qianqi lived, but he also found no trace of him.